December 11th, 1944, evening, near Aue, Belgium. My name is James Kellerman, Jimmy, Private First Class, Battery B, 589th Field Artillery Battalion, 106th Infantry Division. I'm 22 years old. From Altoona, Pennsylvania. I'm starting this diary tonight because Dorothy asked me to. She wants to know what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing. She said, when I come home, we can read it together. I don't know if I'll ever show this to anyone, but writing helps. Makes me feel like I'm talking to her. We arrived at our position this afternoon. They trucked us in from the rear, bumping along frozen roads through the thickest forest I've ever seen. The Ardennes, they call it. Dense pine trees, hills rolling up and down. Everything covered in snow. Beautiful, if you can forget there's a war on. The trees here are like nothing back home. Massive pines, so close together you can barely see 20 yards into the forest. The branches hang low, weighted down with snow. Everything is white and green and silent. The kind of silence that makes you whisper even when there's no reason to be quiet. This is supposed to be a quiet sector. That's what Sergeant Morrison told us when we were unloading the guns. Welcome to the Ghost Front, boys. Jerry's are sleepy here. This is where green divisions come to learn the ropes without getting shot at too much. Green. That's us, the Golden Lions. We only landed in England 3 weeks ago. Most of us have never fired a shot in anger. The 106th relieved the 2nd Infantry Division, and those boys looked at us like we were ghosts ourselves. Battle-hardened, those fellas. Eyes that have seen things. They couldn't get out of here fast enough, which should have told us something, but we were too dumb to notice. I remember one of them, a sergeant with a scar across his cheek, looking at our fresh uniforms and new equipment. He just shook his head. "Good luck, kid," he said to me. "You're gonna need it." I didn't understand what he meant then. Thought maybe he was just trying to scare us. Now I wish I'd asked him more questions. Our gun position is at the edge of a clearing, forest all around. We've got 4 M101A1 howitzers set up in a rough line, about 50 yards between each piece. My gun is number 2. It's a beautiful weapon, really. 105mm, weighs almost 5,000 pounds. Can throw a 33-pound shell more than 11,000 yards. When she fires, you feel it in your chest, even with your ears covered. The gun sits on a split-trail carriage with 2 spade plates that dig into the ground when you fire. The recoil mechanism is a complex system of hydraulics that absorbs the kick. The whole thing is painted olive drab, already starting to show wear even though it's practically new. There's a serial number stamped on the breech, W384792. I don't know why I noticed that, but I did. Maybe because I used to keep inventory records at the railroad yard. Numbers stick in my head. The crew is 8 men. There's Corporal Davis. He's the gunner. 24 years old, from Georgia. Got a slow way of talking that makes everything sound calmer than it is. He's married, has a baby girl he's never met. Born while we were on the ship coming over. He carries a photograph of his wife holding the baby. Shows it to everyone. "That's little Susan," he'll say. 3 months old now. Can you believe I got a daughter and I ain't never even held her? Then there's Kowalski, the assistant gunner, Polish kid from Chicago, always cracking jokes. Says his mother sends him packages with kielbasa, but we all know he's lying because we've never seen one arrive. He's got this way of dealing cards that's almost like magic, makes them snap and flutter. Says he learned it from his uncle who ran numbers on the south side. Always got a smile, always got a story. Makes the time pass easier. Henderson loads the shells, young kid, maybe 19, scared of everything. He flinches at loud noises, jumps when someone comes up behind him. The other boys tease him about it, but not in a mean way. He's from some small town in Iowa, first time he's ever been out of the state. Writes to his mother every single day without fail. Morrison is our section chief, 30 years old, regular army, knows his business. He enlisted back in 36, been in the service 8 years, served in Panama before the war. He doesn't talk much about himself, just focuses on the gun, on the procedures, on keeping us sharp. He's the kind of NCO who leads by example, never asks us to do anything he wouldn't do himself. The rest of the crew handles ammunition, aiming stakes, all the technical work that keeps a gun firing. There's Rodriguez, who's on the number one position, handles deflection and traverse. Smart kid, used to be studying engineering at some college in California before he got drafted. There's Williams on number 3, ammunition handler, big farm boy from Nebraska, strong as an ox. And Franklin on number 4, he sets the fuses, delicate work that requires steady hands. He was a watchmaker before the war, which makes sense. We spent the afternoon digging in. The ground is frozen solid. It's like trying to dig through concrete. We've got entrenching tools, small shovels meant for digging foxholes, and we're trying to scrape out gun pits with them. Every swing of the shovel jars your arms, barely makes a dent. My hands are covered in blisters, and I'm wearing gloves. We managed to scrape out shallow pits for the guns, stack some frozen dirt around them for protection. Not much, but better than nothing. The work kept us warm at least. Even in this cold, we were sweating by the time we finished, steam rising off our bodies in the freezing air. Then as soon as we stopped working, the cold hit us like a wall. Your sweat freezes on your skin. Your clothes stiffen. Your muscles cramp up. The cold here is something else. It's not just cold. It's the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and stays there. I can see my breath in thick clouds. The metal on the gun is so cold it'll take the skin right off your hand if you touch it bare. We've learned to keep our gloves on, always. Even inside the gloves, my fingers are numb. I keep flexing them, trying to keep the blood moving. The temperature must be around 20 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe lower. It's hard to tell. All I know is it's colder than any winter I remember back home. And this is only December 11th. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Right now, I'm writing this in a dugout we scraped into the hillside. There's 6 of us crammed in here trying to stay warm. It's maybe 6 feet by 8 feet with logs across the top covered by dirt and snow. A single candle provides light and almost no heat. Our breath fogs in the air. The walls are frozen earth, hard as stone. Kowalski is dealing cards for poker, using cigarettes as chips. He's already up about 20 cigarettes, grinning like he's won a fortune. "Come on, fellas," he's saying. "Lady Luck is with me tonight. Who wants to lose some more smokes?" Henderson is reading a letter from his girl, smiling like an idiot. It's the same letter he's read 5 times already today. I can see him mouthing the words as he reads. His girl's name is Betty. She works at a diner in their hometown. He talks about her constantly, how they're going to get married as soon as he gets home, how she makes the best apple pie in Iowa, how her hair catches the sunlight. Davis is cleaning his rifle for the 3rd time today. It's already spotless, but he keeps working on it, disassembling it, cleaning each part, reassembling it. The repetitive motion seems to calm him. He hums while he works. Old gospel songs his mother taught him. Rodriguez is writing a letter, his handwriting cramped and careful. Williams is already asleep, snoring loud enough to wake the dead. Franklin is working on a watch he found in an abandoned farmhouse, trying to get it running again. His hands move with practiced precision, even in the dim light. I can hear wind in the pine trees outside. It's a lonely sound. Makes me think of home, of Pennsylvania. My father works for the railroad, in the machine shop. Been there 26 years. I worked there too, after high school, as a clerk in the yards. Kept the books, tracked inventory, did paperwork. I was taking night classes in accounting, saving money. Dorothy and I were going to get married in the spring of 44, but then I got my draft notice in October of 43. I remember the day it came. I was at work, doing inventory on a shipment of rail spikes. My mother called the office, said there was an important letter. I knew what it was before I even got home. Every boy my age was getting the same letter. I reported to the draft board on October 15th, 1943. Passed the physical. Got sworn in. 2 weeks later, I was on a train to Camp Atterbury, Indiana, for basic training. Basic was hard but fair. Push-ups, running, marching, rifle practice, learning to be a soldier. I was in decent shape from working at the railroad yard, but nothing prepares you for military training. They break you down and build you back up. That's what the drill instructors said, make you into something new. After basic came artillery school at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's where I learned about the 105 howitzer, learned every part, every procedure, how to set deflection and elevation, how to calculate firing data, how to maintain the recoil mechanism, how to load and fire, over and over until it became automatic, until you could do it in your sleep. I was good at it, actually. The mathematical part came easy to me. calculating trajectories, adjusting for wind and temperature, reading maps. The instructors noticed, said I should apply for officer candidate school. But I didn't want to be an officer, didn't want the responsibility, just wanted to do my job and get home. We shipped out to England in November, crossed on a troop ship packed with thousands of men. Miserable voyage, rough seas, half the men seasick the whole time. The smell below decks was unbearable. Vomit and sweat and too many bodies packed too close together. I spent as much time as I could on deck, breathing fresh air, watching the grey Atlantic roll past. England was cold and wet. We stayed in a camp near Southampton for 2 weeks, doing more training, getting our equipment ready. Then, on December 2nd, we crossed the Channel to France. Trucks brought us through France and Belgium to here, to this forest, to this quiet sector. Dorothy Sullivan. I've known her since we were kids. She lives 3 streets over from my family. Dark hair, green eyes, laugh that makes everything seem possible. We got engaged before I left for basic training. She wears my grandmother's ring, a small diamond on a gold band. My grandmother wore it for 50 years. My mother gave it to me to give to Dorothy. She's a good girl, Mom said. You hold on to her. I miss her so much it's like a physical pain. I keep her letters in my jacket pocket right over my heart. I've read them so many times the paper is wearing thin at the folds. She writes about work at the textile mill, about saving money, about the house we'll rent when I get home, about the furniture we'll buy, about painting the kitchen yellow because that's her favorite color. She writes about ordinary things, about her sister getting married, about their cat having kittens, about snow falling in Altoona, about Christmas decorations going up downtown, all the small details of life back home. I read her letters and I can almost see it, almost feel like I'm there. Her last letter, dated November 28th, talks about Thanksgiving, how the whole family got together at her parents' house, how they had turkey and stuffing and her mother's famous pumpkin pie, how they said grace and mentioned me in the prayer, asked God to keep me safe and bring me home. I wonder what they're doing right now. It's 7 hours earlier back home, so it's mid-afternoon there. Maybe Dorothy is at work at the mill running one of the big looms. Maybe Mom is making dinner, pot roast probably, Dad's favorite. Maybe Margaret is walking home from her shift at the textile plant. They have no idea where I am. The letters I send are censored, locations blacked out. All they know is I'm somewhere in Europe, somewhere in the war. They must worry constantly. I try to write cheerful letters, tell them I'm fine, I'm safe, don't worry, but I don't know if it helps. But I shouldn't complain. We're in a quiet sector. The war might pass us right by. Some of the boys are saying we'll be in Paris for Christmas, that this thing will be over by spring. The Germans are on the run everywhere, getting pushed back to the Rhine. The Russians are advancing from the east. It's just a matter of time now. Maybe we'll just sit here in these woods, fire a few harassment missions, and go home without ever seeing real action. That would be fine with me. I didn't join up to be a hero. I got drafted, same as most of the boys. I'll do my duty, but I don't need glory. I don't need medals or stories to tell. I just want to go home, marry Dorothy, work at the railroad, have a quiet life. Is that too much to ask? Just a normal life. A house, a wife, maybe kids someday, Sunday dinners with the family, work during the week, church on Sundays. The ordinary rhythms of ordinary life. That's all I want. All I've ever wanted. Tomorrow we're supposed to register the gun. Fire some ranging shots to get our bearings. Sergeant Morrison says we'll probably run some harassment and interdiction fires on crossroads, keep the Germans nervous. Routine stuff. Standard procedure. It's late now. Kowalski just won the poker hand and he's gloating. That's 38 cigarettes I'm up, he's crowing. You boys couldn't bluff your way out of a paper bag. Davis is telling him to shut up so we can sleep. Some of us got guard duty tonight, Ski. Let a man rest. Someone's snoring already. Sounds like Williams. That boy could sleep through an earthquake. The candle is burning low. Just a stub left. Franklin is putting away his watch parts, carefully wrapping them in a cloth. Rodriguez has finished his letter and sealed it. Henderson is tucking the photograph of his girl into his shirt pocket, right over his heart. just like I do with Dorothy's letters. We're all the same, really. All of us carrying pieces of home, photographs, letters, memories, tokens to remind us why we're here, what we're fighting for, what's waiting for us when this is over. I'll write more tomorrow. If you're reading this, Dorothy, I'm thinking of you. I'm always thinking of you. When I close my eyes, I see your face. When I'm cold, I remember how warm your hand felt in mine. When I'm scared, I think about coming home to you. You're my reason, my purpose, my future. I love you. More than words can say. December 12th, 1944, late afternoon. First full day in position. Still quiet. Almost boring, if you can believe that. We spent the morning improving our positions, digging deeper, building up the berms around the guns, trying to create better overhead cover. It's still brutal work in this frozen ground, but we're making progress. Morrison says a properly dug-in gun position can mean the difference between life and death when the shells start falling. Not if, gentlemen, he said this morning. When? Sooner or later, Jerry's going to throw some steel our way. When he does, you'll be damn glad you dug a few extra feet. So we dug, and dug, and dug some more. Around 1000 hours, a jeep came up from battalion headquarters. Lieutenant Patterson, our forward observer, was in it. He's young, maybe 23, fresh out of officer candidate school. This is his first posting. You can tell by how clean his uniform still is, how he tries to sound confident, but hasn't quite mastered it yet. He's setting up an observation post about 2 miles forward, up on a ridge where he can see into German territory. His job is to spot targets and call back firing data to us. Eyes of the artillery, they call the forward observers. They're the ones who go forward with the infantry, who get close enough to the enemy to see what needs to be hit. It's dangerous work. Maybe the most dangerous job in the artillery. You're up front with just a radio and a couple of enlisted men watching the enemy, calling down fire. If the infantry has to retreat, you're often the last one out, and the Germans know how valuable forward observers are. They hunt them specifically. Patterson doesn't seem to realize this yet. He's excited, eager, keeps talking about engaging the enemy and bringing the fight to them. Morrison just nods, doesn't say anything. He knows that eagerness will wear off fast once the shooting starts. We did some practice drills in the afternoon, dry runs they call them, going through all the motions of a fire mission without actually firing. Patterson would radio back fake coordinates. The Fire Direction Center would calculate the firing data. They'd relay it to us. We'd set the gun, go through all the steps. Deflection, 1285 mils. Elevation, 327 mils. Charge, 5. Fuse, quick, load, aim, and hold, because it's just a drill, over and over, until it's automatic, until you don't have to think about it. That's the key to good artillery work, Morrison says. Make it automatic. In combat, when you're scared and shells are falling and everything is chaos, you fall back on your training. You do what you've practiced 10,000 times. You don't think, you just do. I understand that from working at the railroad. There are procedures for everything. Loading freight, coupling cars, switching tracks. You follow the procedures exactly, every time. No exceptions. Because if you cut corners, if you get sloppy, people die. A loose coupling can cause a derailment. A misread switch can send a train into a collision. You have to be precise. Same with artillery, I suppose. Except instead of freight cars, we're dealing with high explosives. Instead of switches, we're dealing with coordinates that might have friendly troops nearby. The stakes are even higher. During one of our breaks, I talked with Rodriguez. He was telling me about his engineering studies. He was in his 3rd year at Berkeley, studying mechanical engineering, had a scholarship, was on track to graduate with honors. Then Pearl Harbor happened, he said. I tried to finish the semester, but my draft notice came in March of '42, been in the Army ever since. I asked if he'd go back to college after the war. If there's still a college to go back to, he said. If there's still a me to go back, you know? I know. Henderson got a package today, from his mother. It was mostly useless stuff, things that can't survive being shipped halfway around the world. Cookies that arrived as crumbs, chocolate that melted and refroze into a shapeless lump. But there was also a new pair of wool socks, which Henderson was thrilled about, and a small Bible, which he tucked into his pocket immediately. Mom says I should read a psalm every day, he told me. says it'll keep me safe. I didn't have the heart to tell him that prayer doesn't stop artillery shells. Or maybe it does. Who knows? I'm not exactly an expert on theology. My own faith is complicated. I was raised Catholic, went to Mass every Sunday, made my first communion, my confirmation, believed all of it, or thought I did. But being here, seeing all this, it raises questions. If God is all-powerful and all-loving, why does he allow wars? Why does he let boys die in frozen forests? Why does he permit evil? The priests back home have answers to these questions. Free will, original sin, the mystery of God's plan. But those answers feel thin when you're living in a frozen dugout waiting to kill or be killed. I don't know what I believe anymore. I still pray, out of habit if nothing else, but I don't know if anyone's listening. The evening has been quiet. We had hot chow for dinner, trucked up from the field kitchen. Beef stew, or something that's supposed to be beef stew. It's mostly potatoes and carrots, with occasional chunks of mystery meat, but it's hot, and in this cold, hot food is a blessing. After dinner, some of the boys started singing. Old songs, popular songs, I'll be seeing you. Don't fence me in. Sentimental Journey, songs about home, about better times. Kowalski has a surprisingly good voice. Rich baritone. He knows all the words to everything. Says he used to sing in his church choir back in Chicago. Before I discovered girls and poker, he said with a grin. I thought about Dorothy while they sang. Thought about dancing with her at the New Year's party last year. She was wearing a blue dress. Her hair smelled like flowers. We danced to As Time Goes By and she hummed along, her cheek against mine. That memory feels like it belongs to a different person, a different life. That boy who danced with Dorothy in Altoona seems impossibly young and naive now. He thought he understood the world. He thought he knew what mattered. He knew nothing. The temperature is dropping again. Must be in the teens now. I'm wearing every piece of clothing I own. Wool undershirt, wool shirt, field jacket, overcoat, wool pants, long underwear, 2 pairs of socks, gloves, wool cap under my helmet. And I'm still cold. Williams, the big farm boy, says this is nothing compared to Nebraska winters. You should try feeding cattle when it's 30 below, he says. Now that's cold. I'll take his word for it. Guard duty, rotation tonight. I've got the midnight to 0200 shift again. 2 hours standing out in the cold, watching the forest, listening for anything unusual. Before that, I should try to sleep. Get a few hours of rest while I can, but sleep doesn't come easy. Every time I close my eyes, I imagine things. German soldiers creeping through the forest, artillery shells falling, the dugout collapsing and burying us alive. Stupid thoughts. We're in a quiet sector. Nothing is going to happen. But still, the thoughts come. Maybe I'll write another letter to Dorothy. That usually helps. Putting my thoughts on paper, telling her about my day, pretending we're just having a conversation. Dear Dorothy, today was quiet. We did some training, had hot stew for dinner. I'm thinking about you, as always, missing you, counting the days until I can hold you again. Simple words, but they're all I have, all any of us have. Words and hope and the belief that someday this will all be over. Someday we'll go home. December 13th, 1944, afternoon. We fired the guns for the first time today. Real fire missions, not just practice. It started at 0800 hours this morning. Lieutenant Patterson called in coordinates from his observation post up on the ridge. He radioed that he spotted some vehicle movement on a crossroads about 8,000 yards east of our position. 3 trucks, possibly more. Could be a supply convoy. Could be troops being moved up. Either way, a legitimate target. The Fire Direction Center took his coordinates and ran the calculations, factored in wind speed, air temperature, the rotation of the Earth even, though at these ranges that's a minimal factor. They came back with the firing data within 2 minutes. Fast work. The radio crackled to life. Battery B, fire mission, grid coordinates 894372, deflection 1427, elevation 315, charge 5. HE quick, 1 round. Morrison repeated it back, confirming. Then he turned to us. You heard the man. Let's put some steel on target. Davis traversed the gun to the correct deflection. I helped Rodriguez set the elevation. Franklin set the fuse to quick, meaning it would detonate on impact rather than with a delay. Henderson prepared the shell, a 33-pound high explosive round, and the charge 5 powder bag. Everything moved smoothly. All those drills paid off. We worked like a machine, each man knowing his role exactly. Load! Henderson lifted the shell, heavy but he's strong, and slid it into the breech. The charge bag went in behind it. Davis closed the breech with a metallic clang that echoed in the cold air. Gun ready. Morrison checked everything one more time. Deflection, elevation, fuse, all correct. He stepped back, pulling the safety lanyard taut. Fire! The gun roared. It's hard to describe the sound if you've never heard it. It's not just loud, it's a physical force. The concussion hits you in the chest like a punch. Your ears ring even through the protection. The gun jumps back against the recoil mechanism, the whole mass of steel and iron sliding backward before the hydraulics catch it and push it back into position. The spade plates dig deeper into the frozen ground. Smoke and cordite fill the air, that bitter chemical smell that sticks in your throat and makes your eyes water. A cloud of propellant smoke rolled out from the muzzle, gray-white in the cold air. The smell of burnt powder was overwhelming, sweet and acrid at the same time. I've come to associate that smell with the gun, with artillery work. It gets into everything. Your clothes, your hair, your skin. You can't wash it out. The shell arced through the air at over 1,000 feet per second. You can't see it, of course. It's moving too fast. But you can imagine it, climbing up and up, reaching the peak of its trajectory, then falling toward the target. 20 seconds of flight time at that range. 20 seconds for the shell to travel 8,000 yards. We waited for Patterson's report. Splash, he radioed, meaning impact. Right 50, add 100, fire for effect. So we'd missed the first shot. Not surprising. Artillery isn't precision bombing. You're firing at targets you can't see, using math and maps and coordinates. The first round is almost always a ranging shot. You use it to adjust. The Fire Direction Center recalculated with Patterson's corrections. New data came through. We reset the gun. Fired again. This time, Patterson reported, on target, fire for effect, battalion 3 rounds. Fire for effect means you've got the range. Now you pour it on. And battalion 3 rounds means all 4 guns in the battery fire 3 rounds each, 12 shells on target in rapid succession. The order came down. We fired 3 rounds as fast as we could. Load, fire, reload, fire, reload, fire. The gun crew moved in perfect synchronization. Shell in, charge in, breech closed, fire. Shell in, charge in, breech closed, fire. Shell in, charge in, breech closed, fire. The gun barrel was hot by the time we finished, despite the freezing temperature. You could see heat shimmer rising from the metal. The recoil mechanism was working hard, the hydraulic fluid pumping back and forth. Around us, the other 3 guns in the battery were doing the same. The noise was incredible. 4 105 howitzers firing in sequence. The ground shook. The air was full of smoke and noise and the acrid smell of explosives. Then silence. We waited for the report. Good effect on target, Patterson radioed. Vehicle destroyed. Secondary explosions. Nice shooting, boys. We'd hit something. Probably the trucks. The secondary explosions meant ammunition or fuel going up. We'd accomplished the mission. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Good work, gentlemen. Textbook fire mission. The crew relaxed. We'd done it. Our first real combat action. We'd fired at an actual enemy target and hit it. And I realized something strange. I felt pride. Professional satisfaction. We'd done our job correctly, followed the procedures, achieved the desired result. I didn't think about the men who might have been in those trucks. Didn't imagine them burning as the fuel tanks exploded. Didn't consider that they had mothers and wives and children. They were just targets. Coordinates on a map. Enemy forces to be destroyed. Is that how it works? Is that how you learn to kill without going mad? By making it impersonal? By reducing human beings to grid coordinates and fire missions? Maybe that's the only way artillery works. If we had to see the faces of the men we're killing, see their fear and their pain, we couldn't do it. so we stay miles away. We fire at coordinates. We let the shells do the dirty work. It's cleaner that way, more professional. At least that's what I tell myself. After the fire mission, we clean the gun thoroughly. You have to maintain the equipment. Burned powder leaves residue in the barrel. The recoil mechanism needs to be checked after every firing. The breech needs to be cleaned. Everything needs to be inspected. Morrison supervised, making sure we did it right. This gun is your life, gentlemen. You take care of her, she'll take care of you. You let her get dirty or damaged, and she'll fail you when you need her most. Davis showed me the proper way to clean the recoil mechanism in this cold. The hydraulic fluid gets thick when it's frozen. You have to be careful. Check for leaks. Make sure the seals are intact. If the recoil mechanism fails during firing, the gun can jump backward violently, potentially killing the crew. Saw it happen once. In training, Davis said. Gun's recoil system failed. Whole piece went flying backward, crushed a man's legs. Had to amputate both of them at the knee. So we were careful, very careful. The rest of the day has been quiet. We pulled more maintenance, restocked the ammunition, improved our positions a little more, tried to stay warm. The cold is relentless. We've got a small fire going in the dugout, but it barely takes the edge off. Smoke from the fire makes your eyes water, but the warmth is worth it. For lunch we had K rations. I'm getting sick of K rations. They're designed to provide nutrition, not taste. The cheese tastes like wax mixed with cardboard. The crackers are so hard they could break your teeth. The meat product, whatever it is, has a texture like paste and a taste like nothing natural. But the coffee, when we can heat it, is the best thing in the world. We boil water in our canteen cups over the fire, dump in the powdered coffee from the ration, stir it with a stick. It's bitter and strong and probably unhealthy, but it's hot. It warms you from the inside. For a few minutes after drinking it, you can feel your fingers and toes again. Kowalski has been telling stories about Chicago. He talks about this restaurant his uncle supposedly owns, describes the food in such detail you can almost taste it. Pierogies with butter and onions, stuffed cabbage and tomato sauce, fresh rye bread still warm from the oven, kielbasa grilled with peppers. First thing I'm doing when I get home, he says, is going to Uncle Stefan's place and eating until I can't move. Real food, not this garbage they feed us here. He's torturing us, but we let him talk because it passes the time. Because imagining real food, even if we can't have it, is better than focusing on the K rations we're actually eating. Henderson got a letter from home today. His girl sent him a photograph. Black and white, a little blurry, but you can see her clearly. Pretty blonde girl with a bright smile, standing in front of a Christmas tree. She's wearing a sweater and skirt, very proper, very wholesome. The kind of girl you bring home to meet your mother. Henderson showed it around, proud as anything. That's my Betty, he said. Isn't she beautiful? She is beautiful. They all are. All these girls waiting back home. Dorothy and Betty and Davis's wife and all the rest. Beautiful and patient and faithful, writing letters and sending packages and waiting for their men to come home. What did we do to deserve them? What makes us worthy of their love? I don't know, but I'm grateful for it. Henderson's been carrying the photograph around all afternoon, looking at it every few minutes, smiling that dopey smile young men in love always have. He looks so happy in those moments, so hopeful. I hope nothing happens to him. I hope he makes it home to his Betty. I hope they get married and have a dozen kids and live happily ever after in whatever small town in Iowa they're from. Everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to go home. I wrote to Dorothy this morning, told her about the forest, the cold, the routine, didn't mention the fire mission. No point in worrying her. She doesn't need to know that we're actually firing at real targets, that there's a real enemy out there who might fire back. I told her I'm safe, that I'm thinking of her, that I love her, that I can't wait to come home and marry her and start our life together. All true. All things she needs to hear. The truth she doesn't need to hear is that I'm scared, that I lie awake at night listening to the forest and imagining threats, that every strange sound makes my heart race, that I'm starting to understand why those boys from the 2nd Division looked at us the way they did. But those truths stay in this diary. They don't go in letters home. There's a rumor going around that we might get rotated back for Christmas, get a hot meal and some proper rest. Someone heard an officer mention it. But rumors fly around all the time in the army. Most of them are nonsense. I'll believe it when I see it. The sun is setting now. The forest gets dark early, all those trees blocking what little light there is. The shadows are long and deep. The temperature is dropping again. Gonna be another cold night. We'll stand watching shifts tonight. 2 hours on, 4 hours off. I've got the 0200 to 0400 shift this time. The coldest part of the night, the dead hours, when everything feels unreal. I should try to get some sleep before then. Curl up in my bedroll. Try to get warm. Try to quiet my mind. But it's hard to sleep. Every sound seems amplified in the darkness. Every creak of the dugout timbers. Every snap of branches outside. Every rustle of wind. The war feels far away right now. Distant and unreal. We're just boys camping in the woods playing soldier. But it's not a game. The shells we fired today were real. The targets were real. Somewhere 8,000 yards east of here, men probably died because we did our jobs well. That's the reality. That's what this is. And tomorrow we'll do it again. Fire more missions. Kill more faceless enemies. Do our duty. That's what soldiers do. It's peaceful here, in a strange way. Quiet. Sometimes I forget there are Germans just a few miles east, that we're actually on the front line. It doesn't feel real. It feels like we're just waiting. Waiting for something to happen. Waiting for the war to find us. Maybe the war will pass us by. Maybe we'll get through this without ever really seeing combat. Maybe we'll all go home safe. Maybe. December 14th, 1944, night. Another quiet day. Starting to feel routine, almost normal. We had 3 fire missions today, all standard harassment and interdiction fires. Crossroads, trail junctions, suspected assembly areas, targets that Patterson spots from his observation post. We fire, adjust, fire for effect. Simple and professional. I'm getting good at this. The procedures are becoming automatic, just like Morrison said they would. I don't have to think about what to do next. My hands know the movements. Set the elevation, check the deflection. Prepare the ammunition, load and fire. There's a rhythm to it, a kind of dance. Each member of the crew moving in synchronization with the others. When it works right, when everyone is in sync, it's almost beautiful. Mechanical, precision turned into art. Rodriguez says it's like music. Each man is an instrument, he told me during a break. The gun is the conductor. When we all play our parts perfectly, the symphony comes together. I suppose that's one way to look at it, though it's a strange symphony, one that ends in explosions and death. But I'm trying not to think about that part, trying to focus on the technical aspects, the mathematics, the procedures, the professional satisfaction of doing a difficult job well. The temperature rose a bit today, must have gotten up to 30 degrees Fahrenheit by mid-afternoon, felt almost warm compared to what we've been dealing with. Some of the snow started to melt, creating muddy patches around the position. But now that the sun's down, it's freezing again. The mud is turning to ice, going to be treacherous walking around in the dark. We got a hot meal again tonight. Bless those cooks. They're working miracles with limited supplies and field kitchens. Tonight was some kind of meat stew, heavy on potatoes and carrots, light on actual meat. But it was hot and filling and 1,000 times better than K rations. There was even dessert, canned peaches. They're probably from 1941 or earlier, but who cares? Sweet fruit is a luxury out here. I savored every bite. After dinner, Kowalski organized a poker game. Real poker this time, not just for cigarettes. He produced a deck of cards that's seen better days, bent and worn from months of use. 5 of us played. Me, Kowalski, Rodriguez, Williams, and Franklin. I lost steadily. Never been much good at poker. Can't hide my tells, Kowalski says. Every time I get a good hand, my face apparently gives it away. You need to work on your poker face, Kellerman, he said with a grin. In cards and in life. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm too transparent, too honest. Dorothy says it's one of the things she loves about me, that I can't lie, that my face shows everything I'm feeling. But in combat, maybe that's a weakness. Maybe you need to be able to hide what you're feeling. Pretend you're not scared, maintain the facade. I don't know. Still learning. Williams cleaned us all out eventually. Farm boy from Nebraska has a hell of a poker face. Won about $3 in various currencies. French francs, Belgian francs, American dollars. even a German Reichsmark that someone picked up somewhere. I'll buy you boys a drink in Paris, William said, pocketing his winnings. Soon as we get there. If we get there. But I didn't say that out loud. Let them have their optimism. Henderson didn't play. He sat in the corner of the dugout, reading his Bible by candlelight. His lips moved as he read, silently forming the words. Every so often he'd pause, close his eyes, seem to pray. Faith must be a comfort. Having something to believe in, something bigger than yourself. I envy that in a way. My own prayers feel hollow lately. I say the words, Our Father, who art in heaven, Hail Mary, full of grace. But they don't seem to go anywhere, just words floating into the darkness. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe you need real faith for prayers to work, not just habit and repetition. Or maybe God is busy with more important things than one scared clerk from Pennsylvania sitting in a frozen forest. Davis showed me a picture of his daughter again today, little Susan, 3 months old. She's probably crawling by now, he said. My wife writes that she's trying to pull herself up, trying to stand, growing so fast. He gets this wistful look when he talks about her, sad and happy at the same time, sad because he's missing it, happy because he has something precious to go home to. What if she doesn't recognize me? He asked. What if I'm just a stranger to her? She's never even heard my voice. I didn't know what to say to that. How do you reassure someone about something so fundamental? She'll know you're her father, I said finally. Your wife will have told her about you, shown her your picture. She'll know. Davis nodded, but he didn't look convinced. These are the costs of war that don't show up in the casualty reports. Fathers missing their children's first steps. Weddings postponed indefinitely. Lives put on hold. Time lost that you can never get back. Even if we all survive, even if we all go home intact, we've lost something. Months or years of our lives. Experiences we should have had. Moments with the people we love. I should have been married by now. Dorothy and I should have been setting up our first home. Learning to live together. Starting our lives. Instead, I'm here, in a frozen forest in Belgium, thousands of miles from everyone and everything I love. I'm trying not to be bitter about it. This is bigger than me, bigger than any of us. Hitler has to be stopped. The Nazis have to be defeated. This is necessary. But late at night, when I'm lying in my bedroll trying to sleep, the bitterness creeps in. Why me? Why us? Why do we have to be the ones to fight this war? But then, why not us? What makes us special? What gives us the right to expect someone else to do the fighting? Someone has to. Might as well be us. I'm on guard duty in an hour, midnight to 0200. Should try to get some sleep before then. Outside, the forest is absolutely silent. No wind tonight, no sounds at all. Just cold and darkness and waiting. Still waiting for something to happen. Still hoping nothing does. December 15th, 1944, night. 2 in the morning, I'm on guard duty, can't sleep anyway, so I brought the diary out here to the gun position. It's absolutely silent right now. No wind, no sounds from the German side, nothing. Just me and the darkness and the cold. The stars are incredible out here, away from any lights. The whole sky is filled with them, bright and sharp in the freezing air. The Milky Way is a river of light across the sky. Indifferent, those stars. The war means nothing to them. They shone before humans existed, and they'll shine long after we're gone. All our struggles, all our suffering, all our grand conflicts. Meaningless on that scale. There's something comforting about that in a strange way. This war isn't the end of the universe. Life will go on. The stars will keep shining. Though I suppose that's not much comfort to the men who die here. The stars will shine on their graves just as indifferently. I keep thinking I hear things. Engines maybe. Movement in the forest, mechanical sounds, but when I really listen, strain my ears, there's nothing, just my imagination playing tricks, or maybe not my imagination, maybe my subconscious picking up on something real, some subtle sound or pattern that my conscious mind isn't registering. I reported it to Sergeant Morrison when I came on shift, told him I've been hearing sounds, vehicles maybe, from the east. He came out and listened with me for 5 minutes. We stood there in the freezing darkness, both of us straining to hear anything unusual. I don't hear nothing, Kellerman, he said finally. Just the forest settling, just normal nighttime sounds. I asked if we should report it up the chain, send a patrol out. Something. Morrison shook his head. Jerry's are quiet here, son. That's why we're here. You're hearing things because you're bored and cold and your mind is playing tricks. Stay alert, but don't worry about it. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am just hearing things. But I don't think so. There's something out there. I can feel it. Call it instinct, call it paranoia, call it whatever you want. But something is wrong. The Germans are too quiet, too inactive. In 3 days, we've fired maybe 20 missions total, all on minor targets, vehicle movements, trail junctions, nothing significant. Where is their artillery? Where are their patrols? Where is the active defense you'd expect from an occupied position? It's like they're not even here, like they've pulled back or abandoned this sector entirely. But that doesn't make sense strategically. Why would they give up terrain without a fight? Unless they're planning something. Unless this quiet is the calm before a storm. I'm probably overthinking it. That's what my father would say. You think too much, Jimmy. Sometimes a quiet day is just a quiet day. But this doesn't feel like a quiet day. This feels like waiting. The cold is brutal tonight. Must be down around 10 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe lower. My breath freezes on my scarf, creating a layer of ice crystals. My eyelashes are frosting over. I have to blink constantly to keep ice from forming on them. My feet are numb. Can't feel my toes at all. I stamp them, trying to keep the blood moving, but it doesn't help much. These boots aren't designed for this kind of cold. The rubber overshoes help a little, but not enough. Frostbite is a real danger out here. The medics gave us a lecture about it when we arrived. First degree is just numbness and pale skin. Second degree is blistering. Third degree is when the tissue actually dies, turns black, has to be amputated. I think I might have first degree on a few toes. Can't be sure without taking off my boots, and I'm not doing that out here. Once you take your boots off in this cold, you might not get them back on. Your feet swell. The leather freezes. I'll deal with it later, after this shift is over. Henderson just walked by on his rounds. He's got the adjacent guard post about 50 yards away, far enough that we can't talk without shouting, close enough that we can see each other's silhouettes. He looked miserable, hunched against the cold, rifle clutched tight. Every few seconds he'd turn, scan the forest, turn back. He's so young, 19 years old, should be in college somewhere, worrying about tests and football games. Not standing guard in a frozen forest, watching for an enemy that might kill him. None of us should be here. We should be home, living our lives. But here we are, doing our duty, serving our country, all the noble phrases that sound good but don't provide any warmth against the cold. I wonder what Dorothy is doing right now. It's about 7 p.m. back home. Maybe she's having dinner with her family. Maybe she's writing me a letter. Maybe she's just sitting by the radio, listening to music, thinking about me. I hope she's warm. I hope she's safe. I hope she's happy. That's all I want. For the people I love to be warm and safe and happy. Is that so much to ask? Apparently it is. Because I'm here and she's there and we're separated by an ocean and a war and thousands of miles. But we'll get through this. We have to. I'll survive this war and go home and marry her and we'll have our life together. That's the plan. That's what keeps me going. 2 more hours of this shift. Then I can go back to the dugout, curl up in my bedroll, try to get warm. 2 more hours of standing in the cold, watching the dark forest first, listening for sounds that might or might not be there. 2 more hours of waiting. That's all war is, really. Long periods of boredom and discomfort punctuated by moments of terror. We haven't had any terror yet, just the boredom and discomfort. I hope it stays that way, but that feeling won't go away. That sense that something is coming, something bad. The forest knows. I can feel it. The trees are holding their breath. The darkness is waiting. Something is coming. I just hope I'm wrong. December 16th, 1944. I don't know what time it is. Later that day. I'm writing this while there's still light. My hands are shaking so badly the letters are barely legible. The paper keeps slipping. I have to stop every few words to steady myself. It started at 05:30 this morning. I was asleep in the dugout, deep asleep, the first real sleep I'd had in days, dreaming about home, about Dorothy, about summer. We were at the lake, the one outside Altoona, where we used to go swimming. The sun was warm on my skin. Dorothy was laughing. Everything was peaceful. Then the world exploded. The sound woke me first, a sound like nothing I've ever heard before. Not thunder, not anything natural. A screaming, shrieking noise that came from everywhere at once, like banshees, like the end of the world, high pitched and terrible and growing louder by the second. Then the impact started. The ground heaved underneath us. The dugout shook violently. Dirt and snow rained down from the ceiling. The logs overhead creaked and groaned. I thought the whole thing was going to collapse and bury us alive. Everyone was shouting, scrambling for equipment, for helmets, for weapons, men tangled together in the darkness trying to find their gear. Someone was screaming. Someone else was praying. I couldn't think, couldn't process what was happening. My first stupid thought was that it was our artillery firing. Some big mission we hadn't been told about. Some massive bombardment of German positions. Then Morrison was there, right in my face, shouting over the noise. Incoming, incoming, get to the guns. Incoming. Enemy fire. The Germans were shelling us. We stumbled out of the dugout into hell. The forest was exploding. Trees were splintering, bursting apart in fountains of wood and snow and earth. The air was full of shrapnel, screaming metal fragments, dirt, smoke. Flashes of orange and red lit up the pre-dawn darkness like lightning. The concussions were continuous, overlapping, a drumbeat of destruction that you felt in your bones. The screaming sound I'd heard was rockets, Nebelwerfers. The Germans call them that. We call them screaming mimes because of the noise they make when they fly. Multiple rockets launching in sequence from a rail launcher. 6 rockets fired almost simultaneously, each one shrieking as it arcs through the air. Then they all land nearly together, creating a concentration of explosions that tears apart everything in the impact zone. And 88s, German 88mm guns, the best artillery they have. Dual purpose, can be used as anti-tank or artillery. Accurate, powerful, deadly. The shells were falling like rain. You could hear them coming if you were lucky. That whistling descent, starting high and getting lower and louder. Then the sharp crack of the impact. Each explosion was a hammer blow to the chest. The air itself seemed to be tearing apart. Shrapnel sang through the trees. Branches fell like rain. The ground erupted in geysers of frozen dirt and snow. I ran to the gun position. The whole crew was there already, or trying to get there. Davis was at the breech, crouched behind the gun shield. Henderson was crawling toward the ammunition, staying low. Morrison was shouting orders that I couldn't hear over the explosions. And Kowalski was on the ground. A shell had landed right in his foxhole. Maybe a direct hit. Maybe close enough that it didn't matter. There was nothing left of him, nothing recognizable. Just pieces, scattered across the frozen ground. Blood everywhere, steaming in the cold air, red on white snow. One moment he was a person, a 20-year-old kid from Chicago who told jokes and dealt cards and talked about his uncle's restaurant. The next moment he was just meat, just organic matter scattered across the landscape. I threw up. Right there, in the middle of the barrage, I bent over and vomited into the snow. My stomach heaved, expelling what little food was in it. The taste of bile burned in my throat. Morrison grabbed me, shook me hard. His face was inches from mine, distorted with rage and fear. Get on the gun. We need to return fire. But we didn't have targets. No fire missions, no coordinates. The forward observers weren't calling in anything. The phone lines were dead, cut by the shelling. We were blind, cut off. No communication with the Fire Direction Center, no communication with battalion headquarters, no communication with anyone. The barrage went on and on. I have no idea how long. It felt like hours. It was probably 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Time stopped meaning anything. Just explosion after explosion. The forest disintegrating around us. Entire trees uprooted. Craters appearing where moments before had been solid ground. We huddled behind the gun, behind anything that might offer protection. The gun shield is only designed to stop small arms fire and shrapnel, not direct hits. But it was something, better than nothing. Men were praying. I could see their lips moving, though I couldn't hear the words over the noise. Henderson had his eyes squeezed shut, hands clasped together so tight his knuckles were white. Davis was just staring at nothing, his face blank with shock. Rodriguez was hit. A piece of shrapnel, maybe 6 inches long, went through his shoulder. It happened so fast. 1 second he was fine, the next he was screaming, blood pouring through his fingers as he tried to hold pressure on the wound. Williams crawled over to him, pulled him behind better cover, tried to apply a bandage, but his hands were shaking too badly. The bandage kept slipping. Finally, Davis came over, moved Williams aside, got the bandage on properly. I was crying, tears running down my face, freezing on my cheeks, mixing with snot from my nose. I wasn't the only one crying. We were all terrified, beyond terrified. This was a level of fear I didn't know existed, and I was praying. Not conscious prayers, not structured words, just a continuous mental scream at God. Please, 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 like, make it stop, please. When the barrage finally stopped, the silence was worse than the noise. My ears were ringing, a high-pitched whine that drowned out everything else. The world seemed muffled, distant. I could see men's mouths moving but couldn't hear what they were saying. Smoke hung over everything. Thick, acrid smoke that burned your lungs when you breathed it. The smell of explosives, of torn earth, of death. The forest looked like a moonscape, craters everywhere. Trees snapped off or uprooted entirely, equipment scattered and destroyed, our carefully dug positions torn apart. Kowalski was dead, also Private First Class Martinez from gun number 4, and 2 men from headquarters section whose names I didn't know well. Thompson and Murphy, I think. 4 dead in the first hour. But the barrage was just the beginning. Around 0700 the small arms fire started. Rifle fire, machine guns, from the east from where the German lines were supposed to be miles away. Too close. Much too close. The chatter of German MG-42s. Distinctive sound, much faster rate of fire than our machine guns. Ripping bursts that sound like cloth tearing. And rifle fire. The sharp crack of Kar 98s. Lots of them. The infantry positions forward of us were being hit, being overrun. We could hear the fighting, see tracers in the forest, red tracers German, green tracers American, crisscrossing through the trees. Men were running back, retreating past our position, shouting about Germans everywhere. Their faces were masks of terror. Some were wounded, bleeding, limping. Some had lost their weapons, their helmets, their equipment, just running. They're everywhere, one of them screamed as he passed. Thousands of them, we can't stop them. An officer tried to rally them, get them to form a defensive line, but they just kept running. Discipline had broken. It was every man for himself. Morrison got us firing. We didn't have proper fire missions, didn't have coordinates from forward observers. Just put rounds down range in the direction of the enemy. High explosive shells, charges 6 and 7, maximum range. Hoping we'd hit something, hoping we'd slow them down. We fired for hours, as fast as we could load and fire. The gun barrel got so hot you could see the heat shimmer rising from it even in the freezing air. The recoil mechanism was working continuously. The hydraulic fluid was smoking. My ears are still ringing. Everything sounds muffled, like I'm underwater. Every time the gun fired, I felt it in my chest, felt my heart skip, felt something inside me break a little more. Around noon, we got orders to displace. Fall back. The Germans had broken through. Multiple breakthroughs all along the line. The 106th Division was being overwhelmed. We were in danger of being surrounded. But we couldn't move yet. The infantry needed covering fire. Men were still falling back, still trying to get out. We had to give them time, so we stayed. We kept firing, shell after shell after shell. Henderson was loading shells mechanically. His face was blank, no emotion at all, just lifting the heavy shells, sliding them into the breach, stepping back, over and over. Like a machine. Franklin was sobbing as he set fuses, tears streaming down his face. But his hands never stopped working. Set the fuse, pass the shell to Henderson, get another shell, set the fuse, again and again. Williams was hit around 1300 hours. Not killed, just hit. A bullet went through his calf. He went down hard, cursing. The medic got to him, bandaged it, gave him morphine. Williams tried to get back on the gun, but his leg wouldn't support him. Morrison made him stay down, so we were down to 6 men on the gun. Should be 8. We made it work. We had to. That's when Davis lost his hand. An .88 shell landed 20 yards away, close enough that I felt the heat of the explosion, close enough that the blast wave picked us all up and threw us like rag dolls. I hit the ground hard, knocked the wind out of me, couldn't breathe for what felt like forever, just gasping, trying to get air into my lungs. When I could finally breathe again, when I could see again, Davis was on the ground. He was staring at his right hand, except his right hand wasn't there anymore. Just a stump at the wrist, blood pumping out in spurts, arterial bleeding, bright red against the white snow. He wasn't screaming. That's what I remember most. He wasn't screaming, just staring at it, like he couldn't understand, like his mind couldn't process what his eyes were seeing. Henderson got to him first, pulled out a tourniquet, wrapped it around Davis's arm above the elbow, twisted it tight. The bleeding slowed, not stopped, but slowed. Davis finally started making noise, not screaming, whimpering, like a hurt animal. "My hand," he kept saying. "Where's my hand? I need my hand. How am I going to hold my daughter without my hand?" We got him to the aid station, or what was left of the aid station. The medical tent had taken a direct hit. Most of the medics were dead or wounded themselves. But they took Davis, got him inside, started working on him. I don't know if he made it. I don't know if he's alive or dead. We had to go back to the gun, had to keep firing. The day became a blur after that, just continuous firing, continuous noise, continuous fear. At 1500 hours, we finally got clear orders. Spike the guns, withdraw to Schoenberg, spiking the guns. That means destroying them so the enemy can't use them. You take a steel rod and drive it down the barrel, or destroy the firing mechanism, make the weapon permanently inoperable. It's supposed to be a last resort, only when capture is absolutely imminent, only when there's no other choice. We're spiking our guns on the second day, on the first day of the offensive. What does that tell you about how this is going? Morrison made us do it right. Even in the chaos, even with German artillery still falling, even with small arms fire getting closer, he made us follow procedure. "Do it right," he said. "If we're giving up these guns, we're going to make damn sure Jerry can't use them." We removed the breech blocks, threw them as far into the forest as we could, destroyed the sights, smashed them with hammers, poured dirt and debris down the barrels, drove steel rods into the firing mechanisms. It felt like killing something, like murdering a friend. That gun was ours. Well, we trained on it, maintained it, fired it. We knew every quirk, every idiosyncrasy. We developed a relationship with it, as strange as that sounds, and now we were destroying it. I felt tears on my face again, felt my throat tight with grief for a piece of artillery. But it represented something, safety, purpose, our role in this war, and we were destroying it. My throat feels tight writing this. My chest hurts. Everything hurts. We're formed up now in a column, waiting to move out. Infantry and artillery, all mixed together. Maybe 200 men, maybe less. Nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows where we're going. Nobody knows what the plan is. The officers are trying to look confident, but I can see the fear in their eyes, the confusion. This wasn't supposed to happen. We were in a quiet sector, the ghost front, where green divisions came to learn without getting shot at. And now we're in the middle of the biggest German offensive since D-Day. I can still see Kowalski, on the ground, scattered, not a person anymore. Just pieces of meat cooling in the snow. Just this morning he was alive. He was dealing cards and smiling and talking about his uncle's restaurant in Chicago. He was a person with a past and a future and dreams. Now he's nothing, gone, erased from the universe in an instant. That could be me, could be any of us, any second. This morning I thought we were in a quiet sector. This morning I thought the war might pass us by. This morning I was planning what I'd write to Dorothy in my next letter. I was so stupid, so naive. There's no such thing as a quiet sector. There's no such thing as safety. There's just random chance and violence and death. Dorothy, if you ever read this, if I don't make it home, I love you. I've always loved you. From the time we were kids playing in the street, from our first date at the movies, from the night I gave you that ring, you're the best thing in my life, the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I might not make it home. I'm sorry I might not get to marry you and build that life we planned. I'm sorry. December 17th, 1944, morning. We're in a new position. I think. Everything is confused. Nobody knows what's happening. The withdrawal yesterday afternoon was chaos, pure chaos. We were supposed to move in an organized column to Schomberg, regroup with the rest of the division, but the roads were clogged with vehicles, refugees, retreating soldiers. Nothing was moving. Everything was gridlocked. German civilians who speak German, Belgian civilians who speak French and Flemish, American soldiers, all of them running west, Reims, away from the fighting, away from the German advance. The roads were a nightmare. Trucks and jeeps abandoned when they ran out of fuel or broke down. Artillery pieces sitting useless because there were no prime movers to tow them. Equipment scattered everywhere. Weapons, ammunition, supplies, all just left behind. And the Germans are moving faster than we are. Their tanks are breaking through everywhere. We can hear them. The rumble of engines, the squeal of tracks, the grinding roar of armor on the move. Tiger tanks, Panther tanks. All the heavy German armor that's supposed to be destroyed or out of fuel. They're not destroyed. They're here. And they're cutting through our lines like a hot knife through butter. We could hear them all night. Engines growling in the darkness, sometimes close, sometimes distant. Always there, always moving, always getting closer. We set up in this position around midnight, found some abandoned guns or whose crews had been killed. Morrison scrounged together a scratch crew from whoever was available, mixed units, artillery, infantry, even a couple of cooks. Anyone who could lift a shell and follow orders. We've got one gun now, a 105 that somebody else used to crew. It's not ours, but it works. The barrel is clean. The recoil mechanism functions. The sights are intact. It'll do. We've been firing all morning. Fire missions from forward observers who are barely staying ahead of the German advance. The missions are coming fast and desperate. Enemy concentrations, German infantry in the open, tank formations, anything and everything. The targets are close, too close. Some missions are only 3,000 yards out. That's danger close for our own troops. We're firing almost directly over the heads of American infantry who are trying to hold the line. The ammunition is running low. We started the morning with maybe 60 rounds. We're down to 30 now. And we're being rationed. Can't just fire at will anymore. Have to make every shot count. 10 rounds per gun per day, they said this morning. 10 rounds. That's nothing. A good crew can fire 3 or 4 rounds a minute. We could burn through 10 rounds in 3 minutes. So we have to choose our targets carefully. Make every shot count. Can't waste ammunition on maybes. Only fire at confirmed targets. Only fire when we know we can hit something important. Around 1,400 hours we took incoming fire again. 88s. Counter battery fire. The Germans have forward observers too, and they spotted our muzzle flashes. 3 shells landed in our position. One of them was a dud. It hit the ground 10 feet from where I was standing. I saw it coming, saw the dark shape falling from the sky, knew what it was, knew I was about to die. It hit the frozen ground with a thump, buried itself maybe 2 feet deep, didn't explode. A dud, a malfunction. The fuse failed, or the explosives were bad, or God decided I should live another day, just random luck. Meaningless chance. If that fuse had worked, I'd be dead right now, blown apart like Kowalski, scattered across the frozen ground. But it didn't work. So I'm alive. I'm writing this. And I can't stop shaking. My hands are trembling so badly I can barely hold the pen. My whole body is shaking. My teeth are chattering even though I'm not particularly cold. Shock, probably. Adrenaline crash. The body's reaction to coming that close to death. I should be grateful. I should be thanking God. I should be celebrating being alive. But all I feel is numb. Empty. Like I've used up all my emotions and there's nothing left. Henderson is falling apart. He's jumping at every sound, flinching at every explosion. His hands shake so badly he can barely load the shells. He dropped one earlier, a 33-pound high explosive round. It hit the ground hard. Didn't go off, thank God, but it could have. The fuse could have been set to impact. Could have detonated. Morrison had to take him off the gun. Put him on ammunition detail in the rear, away from the actual firing. Henderson just stood there when Morrison told him, tears streaming down his face. Didn't argue. Didn't protest. Just walked away to his new position. I understand. I'm barely holding it together myself. Last night I tried to write a letter to Dorothy. I wanted to tell her the truth about what's happening here. About the terror and the death and the chaos. I wanted to be honest with her for once. But I couldn't do it. How do you describe this? How do you put into words what it's like when your whole world is exploding and men are dying and nothing makes sense anymore? How do you explain the fear, the kind of fear that makes you lose control of your bowels, that makes you cry and pray and beg for your mother like a child? How do you tell the person you love that you're probably going to die? That the odds of survival seem impossibly small? That you're in the middle of something terrible and there's no way out? I wrote Dear Dorothy at the top of the page. Then I just stared at it for 20 minutes, the candlelight flickering, my hand holding the pen, the blank page mocking me. Finally I wrote, I'm okay, I love you, I'll write more when I can. 3 sentences. That was all I could manage. The truth stayed inside. The truth stays in this diary. Because the truth would destroy her, would make her worry herself sick, would give her nightmares. Better to lie. Better to pretend everything is fine. The truth is, I don't know if I'm okay. I don't know if any of us are okay. We're functioning, following orders, doing our jobs, loading and firing and moving when told to move. But something has broken inside. I can feel it, like a crack in a foundation. The building is still standing, but the damage is there, permanent and fundamental. I keep thinking about Kowalski, about how he was alive one moment and gone the next, how fast it happened, how random it was. That shell could have landed anywhere, could have hit the gun position, could have hit a tree and airburst, could have hit empty forest and done no damage. But it hit Kowalski's foxhole. Pure chance, random probability. And he's dead. While I'm alive because a different shell happened to be a dud, random, meaningless, arbitrary. My father used to say that if you do things the right way, follow the procedures, pay attention to the details, you'll be okay. That's how he survived 30 years in the railroad yards, where one mistake can kill you. Do the job right, be careful, and you'll make it home. But there's no right way to survive artillery. There's no procedure that keeps you safe when shells are falling at random. You can do everything right and still die, or you can do everything wrong and survive because a fuse doesn't work. It's all just luck. And that terrifies me more than the shells do. The randomness of it, the lack of control, the knowledge that my survival has nothing to do with skill or courage or righteousness. Just luck. I'm so tired. I haven't slept more than an hour at a time since the 16th. Every time I close my eyes, I see Kowalski, or I hear the screaming Mimis, that awful shrieking sound they make, or I dream I'm back home and Dorothy is there and everything is normal, and then I wake up and I'm still here in this frozen hell, and for a moment I can't remember where I am or what's happening, and the realization hits me like a punch to the gut. This is real. This is my life now. Someone is crying in the next foxhole, trying to do it quietly, trying to muffle the sound, but I can hear him. We all can. Nobody says anything. We pretend not to notice. Because we've all done it. We've all cried. We've all broken down. There's no shame in it. Not anymore. The temperature dropped today. Must be around 10 degrees Fahrenheit now. Maybe lower. The cold is its own enemy. As dangerous as the Germans in some ways. My toes are numb all the time now. I can't feel them when I wiggle them. Can't feel them when I walk. Just wooden stumps at the end of my feet. I'm worried about frostbite. Real frostbite. The kind that requires amputation. But there's nothing to do about it. We just keep moving. Keep working. Try to stay alive. That's all we can do. Try to stay alive one more hour. One more day. Dorothy, I'm trying to stay alive. I promise I'm trying. But I'm so scared. So tired. So broken. I don't know how much more of this I can take. December 17th, 1944, evening. More bad news. The worst yet. Around 1600 hours, an officer came through with updates. A captain from division headquarters. His uniform was filthy. His face was haggard. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 days. He gathered us around all the scattered survivors in our sector, maybe 50 men. Artillery, infantry, engineers, all mixed together. Listen up, he said. I'm going to give it to you straight. No sugarcoating. The Germans launched a major offensive all along the Ardennes front. Not just us, everywhere. From Monschau in the north to Echternach in the south, 60 miles of front, maybe more. They hit us with 29 divisions. 29. Armor and infantry, including elite SS units, the best troops they have left. We had 4 divisions holding the line, 4 against 29. The math isn't hard. The 106th Division, our division, is being overwhelmed. Both the 422nd and 423rd Infantry Regiments are surrounded on the Schnee Eifel Ridge, 8,000 men, maybe 9,000 cut off, surrounded by German forces. They're trying to fight their way out, trying to break through. But the Germans have them boxed in, and we can't help them, we can't reach them. The Germans are between us and them. 8,000 men, surrounded, cut off, running low on ammunition and supplies. The officer paused, looked at us. His eyes were hollow, defeated. "I'm not going to lie to you," he said. "This is bad as it gets. Division is essentially combat ineffective. We're scattered, disorganized, low on everything, ammunition, food, fuel." Someone asked about reinforcements, about help coming. The officer shook his head. "Everyone's committed. Everyone's fighting. This isn't just us. The whole front is under attack. Bastogne is surrounded. Saint-Vith is under siege. The Germans have broken through in a dozen places." He told us to fall back in small groups, try to make it west to American lines, avoid capture if possible. If not, surrender and become POWs. "Good luck," he said. Then he was gone, back into the chaos. That was it. Our orders: fall back in small groups, try to survive. The 106th Division, the Golden Lions, were finished. Destroyed as a fighting unit in less than 48 hours. All those boys I knew. All those faces. The cooks, the clerks, the infantry. The men I'd passed in the chow line, played cards with, shared foxholes with. Most of them are either dead or about to be captured. And there's nothing we can do. Nothing except try to save ourselves. Morrison gathered our gun crew, what's left of it. Me, Franklin, Rodriguez with his wounded shoulder, Williams with his wounded leg, and a couple of infantrymen who'd attached themselves to us, lost from their units, just looking for anyone who seemed to have a plan. "We're going to try to make it west," Morrison said. "Stay together, move at night, avoid German positions, find our way back to American lines." Someone asked how far. Morrison didn't know. Could be 5 miles, could be 20. We don't know where the Germans are, don't know where our lines are. We're just going to head west and hope. Hope. That's all we have left. We're waiting for darkness now. Full darkness before we move. Going to try to slip through the German positions under cover of night. It's a desperate plan, probably suicidal. But what choice do we have? Stay here and get captured? Surrender now? Morrison won't hear of it. "We're American soldiers," he said. "We don't quit. We don't surrender. Not while we can still fight." But we can barely fight. We're exhausted, low on ammunition, wounded, scared, still. We're going to try. I'm writing this quickly, while I have light. I don't know when I'll be able to write again. Don't know if I'll survive. The night. Dorothy, if you're reading this, it means something happened. It means I didn't make it. I want you to know that I thought about you every day, every hour. You were the reason I kept going. The thought of coming home to you, marrying you, building a life with you, that's what kept me alive this long. I love you. I'll always love you, no matter what happens. To my parents, to Margaret, I'm sorry. I tried to do my duty. I tried to be brave. I tried to be the son you could be proud of. I hope you can forgive me if I fail. God, if you're listening, if you care about what happens down here in this frozen hell, please get us through this. Please let us live. Please, I don't want to die. I'm 22 years old. I want to go home. I want to marry Dorothy. I want to have children and grow old and live a normal life. Please, let me live. Please, December 18th, 1944, written later. I don't know what day it is anymore. I killed someone last night. Not with artillery. Not from miles away, firing at coordinates on a map. Up close, face to face, close enough to see his eyes. We left our position around 2200 hours last night. Full darkness. The moon was hidden behind clouds. We moved in single file through the forest, trying to stay quiet, trying not to make noise. Every snapping branch sounded like a gunshot. Every whisper of wind made us freeze. There were 12 of us, Morrison leading, me right behind him, Franklin, Rodriguez with his wounded shoulder, Williams limping on his bad leg, Henderson. and 6 infantrymen from scattered units, men whose names I barely know. Thompson, or maybe it's Johnson, Carter, Williams, different Williams from our Williams, young kid, terrified, and 3 others whose names I haven't learned. We moved slow, careful. Every sound was terrifying. Every snapping branch, every whisper of wind through the trees, every crunch of snow under our boots. We expected to run into Germans at any moment. They were everywhere. We could hear them. Voices in the darkness, engines rumbling, the sound of tracks on frozen ground. We made it maybe 2 miles, heading west, using a compass to navigate, staying in the forest, avoiding roads. Roads meant Germans. Roads meant tanks and trucks and death. The wounded corporal, the one from the infantry who'd been with us, he was struggling. The shrapnel wound in his leg was bad. Infected probably. He was limping badly, leaning on Williams and me. His breath came in gasps. He was slowing us down. But we couldn't leave him. You don't leave wounded. That's the rule. You bring everyone home. Then we walked into a German patrol. It happened so fast. We came around a thick stand of pines and there they were. 6 men, German soldiers, Wehrmacht, not SS, regular infantry. They looked as surprised as we were. For one frozen second nobody moved. We just stared at each other. Americans and Germans, boys in different uniforms, all of us scared. All of us lost in the same dark forest. Then someone shouted, German words I didn't understand, and everything exploded. Muzzle flashes in the darkness, the sharp crack of rifles firing, tracers streaking through the trees like angry fireflies, the stutter of a submachine gun, probably a Thompson on our side, an MP-40 on theirs. I hit the ground, brought my rifle up, my M1 Garand, 8-round clip, fully loaded. I checked it obsessively all day, made sure it was clean, made sure it would work. I saw a shape moving toward me, dark against the snow. Coming fast, I could see the outline of a rifle, a coal scuttle helmet, a German soldier. I fired. The Garand kicked against my shoulder, hard recoil. The muzzle flash blinded me for a second. I couldn't see if I'd hit anything. The shape went down. I fired again and again, squeezing the trigger, not aiming really, just pointing and firing. The rifle bucked in my hands, hot brass ejected, pinging against trees. The distinctive sound of an M1 firing. I emptied the clip. 8 rounds. The clip ejected with that characteristic ping, the sound that gives away your position, that tells the enemy you're empty, that you need to reload. Then silence. My ears were ringing. Powder smoke hung in the air. I could smell it. Burnt gunpowder, cordite, and something else, something organic and terrible. Morrison was shouting, Sound off! Who's hit? Sound off! We counted off, called out our names, checking who was still alive. 3 men didn't answer. The corporal with the wounded leg, Thompson or Johnson, the infantryman, and one of the others whose name I never learned, dead. All 3 of them. The Germans were quiet too, all 6 of them down, dead or dying. We needed to move. Fast. The gunfire would attract attention. Every German in the area would be heading toward us. Move, Morrison hissed. Now, go! But I couldn't move. I was frozen, staring at the shape I'd shot, the dark form lying in the snow. Henderson grabbed me, pulled me. Come on, we have to go. We ran, stumbling through the forest, branches whipping our faces, roots catching our feet, panic driving us forward. We ran for maybe 15 minutes, until we couldn't run anymore, until our lungs burned and our legs gave out. We collapsed in a drainage ditch, under a small bridge, 9 of us now. Down from 12, Morrison posted guards, made sure we weren't followed. Then we just lay there, gasping, trying to catch our breath, and I couldn't stop shaking. My whole body was trembling, violent shakes that I couldn't control, my teeth chattering, my hands jerking. Williams tried to talk to me, asked if I was okay. I couldn't answer, couldn't speak, just shook. Eventually I calmed down enough to function, enough to move. We waited in that ditch until dawn, waiting for light, waiting to see if we'd been followed. When it got light enough to see, I went back. I don't know why. I had to know, had to see. Morrison tried to stop me. Leave it, Kellerman. He's dead. Let's move. But I couldn't. I had to know. I made my way back through the forest, following our tracks in the snow, found the place where the firefight happened. The German soldiers were still there, all 6 of them, frozen in the positions where they died. The cold preserves everything. I found the one I shot, the shape that had come toward me. He was young, maybe 20 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes still open, staring at nothing. His face was peaceful almost, surprised, like he couldn't believe this had happened. He was wearing a wedding ring. I could see it on his left hand, gold band, simple, worn. Someone loved him. Someone was waiting for him to come home. I searched his pockets. I don't know why, looking for something, some clue about who he was. I found a photograph, folded in his breast pocket, right over his heart, just like I keep Dorothy's letters. A woman, pretty, dark hair, standing in front of a Christmas tree, smiling, just like Henderson's photograph of his Betty, just like the photograph Davis carried of his wife and daughter, just like all of us, all carrying pieces of home, tokens of the people we love. This boy had someone waiting for him too, someone who loved him. A wife probably, maybe children, dreams, hopes, a future, all gone now. Because of me. I threw up again, right there in the snow, bent over and vomited. Nothing came up but bile. My stomach was empty, but I kept heaving, dry heaves that hurt. I was shaking so badly I could barely stand. Williams had followed me. He helped me walk back to where the others were waiting. It's okay, he kept saying. You did what you had to do. It's okay. But it's not okay. In training, they tell you not to think of the enemy as human. They're just targets, just threats, just the enemy. Dehumanize them so you can kill them. But he was human. He had a life, a wife, dreams. All gone now. Because of me. I know it was self-defense, him or me, kill or be killed. If I hadn't fired, he would have killed me. I know that. But it doesn't help. My hands won't stop shaking. They haven't stopped since last night. I can barely hold this pen. The writing is barely legible. We're hiding now in an abandoned barn, on the edge of a small farm outside some village. The family fled when the fighting started. There's still food in the kitchen. A pot of soup on the stove, frozen solid now. Bread on the table, hard as stone. They left in a hurry. We're in the hayloft. 9 men packed in tight, trying not to make noise, trying not to be found. German voices outside. They're close, maybe 50 yards away, setting up a position, a machine gun emplacement by the sound of it. We can hear them working, hear them talking, laughing even. They don't know we're here. We're waiting for full darkness before we try to move again. Try to get further west. Try to find American lines, if there are American lines to find. Henderson keeps asking if I'm okay, if I need anything. He's worried about me. I can see it in his eyes. I tell him I'm fine. But I'm not fine. Nothing is fine. I can't stop seeing that German boy's face. His surprised expression, the wedding ring on his hand, the photograph of his wife. I killed him. Took his life. Ended everything he was and everything he could have been. How do you live with that? How do you go home and marry your girl and have a normal life when you've taken someone else's life? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? God forgive me. God forgive me. God forgive me. I keep saying it over and over, like a prayer, like if I say it enough times, maybe it'll be true. God forgive me. But I don't think he will. I don't think I can forgive myself. December 19th, 1944, morning, I think. We're down to 8 men. Johnson, or maybe it was Thompson, died during the night. Frostbite had turned to gangrene. His foot was black, swollen. The smell was terrible, sweet and rotten at the same time. We didn't have antibiotics, didn't have proper medical supplies. Henderson, who's had some first aid training, said there was nothing we could do. The infection had spread too far. Johnson got weaker and weaker through the night. Fever, delirium, calling for his mother. Then his breathing got shallow. Then it stopped. Just like that. One moment alive, the next moment gone. We buried him in the snow. Couldn't dig a proper grave. The ground is frozen solid. So we just covered him with snow. Said a prayer. Kept moving. Henderson said the prayers. The Lord's Prayer. Hail Mary. His voice shaking in the cold air. The rest of us stood with heads bowed, helmets off despite the cold. It felt inadequate, insufficient. A boy deserves more than a shallow snow grave in a foreign country. He deserves to go home, to be buried properly with his family there, to have a headstone with his name on it. But there's no time, no resources, just a snow grave and a quick prayer, and then we move on. Because staying means dying. My feet are bad, really bad. I took my boots off this morning to check. Big mistake. 3 toes on my left foot are black, not blue, not purple, black. Dead tissue. Frostbite, 2nd degree at least, maybe 3rd. It doesn't hurt. That's what scares me. It should hurt, but there's nothing. Just numbness. Dead tissue doesn't have nerve endings. Henderson looked at them and his face went pale. You need a doctor, he said. You need those amputated before the infection spreads. But there's no doctor, no hospital, just this frozen forest and Germans everywhere, and the desperate attempt to survive. So I put my boots back on, wrapped my feet as best I could, kept going. I might lose those toes, might lose the whole foot if infection sets in, but that's a problem for later, if I live long enough for it to matter. Right now, I just need to keep walking. We're moving west. At least we think it's west. Hard to tell in these forests. The sun barely penetrates the canopy. We're navigating by compass when we can see it, when the clouds break enough to get a reading. We've seen evidence of the fighting everywhere. Shell craters, destroyed vehicles, American and German both. Bodies, frozen in the snow where they fell. Some of them have been dead for days, since the 16th probably, frozen solid, covered in snow. Sometimes we almost step on them before we realize they're there. Others are fresh, still bleeding, still warm, dead only hours, sometimes minutes. The forest is a graveyard, bodies everywhere. The dead outnumber the living. Around mid-morning, we found a group of American dead, infantry from the 422nd Regiment, maybe 30 men. They'd been lined up against a stone wall and shot, executed. All of them had their hands bound behind their backs with wire. All of them shot in the back of the head, execution style. These weren't combat deaths. These were murders. These men had surrendered, had been taken prisoner, and then murdered in cold blood. Williams vomited. So did Henderson, bent over and retched. The sound of them heaving echoed in the quiet forest. I just stood there, looking at them, feeling nothing, just empty. Is this what I'm becoming? Someone who can look at murdered men and feel nothing? Someone who's seen so much death that it doesn't register anymore? I'm becoming numb, hollow. Like all the fear and horror has burned out everything inside me, left just a shell, a walking corpse going through the motions. We took their ammunition, their rations, their equipment, anything useful. They don't need it anymore. It felt like grave robbing, because that's what it was, but we need supplies. We're running low on everything. One of the dead men had a letter in his pocket. I don't know why I read it. Some compulsion, some need to know who he was. It was addressed to someone named Sarah. His sister maybe, talking about coming home for Christmas, about missing her, about wanting to see snow in Colorado again, dated December 10th, 6 days ago, a lifetime ago. He wrote about being in a quiet sector, about how boring it was, about how he thought he'd get through the war without seeing real combat, just like I thought. We were all so stupid, so naive. He's not going to see snow in Colorado. He's not going home. He's dead in a Belgian forest, murdered after he surrendered. I put the letter back in his pocket, closed his eyes even though they were already frozen open, tried to give him some dignity, then we moved on, because staying means dying. We heard vehicles again in the afternoon, tanks, close, very close. The rumble of engines shook the ground, the squeal of tracks on frozen earth. We hid in a bomb crater, pressed ourselves into the frozen mud, hardly breathing, praying they wouldn't see us. German armor rolled past. Panthers, big deadly tanks, the best the Germans have. Each one weighs 45 tons, armed with a 75mm gun that can punch through any American tank. 3 of them, moving west in a column, heading toward the American lines, heading to kill more of our boys. And we couldn't do anything, just hide and watch them pass. We had no anti-tank weapons, no bazookas, no way to stop them, just our rifles. And rifles don't stop tanks. So we hid, and they passed, and we survived another hour. How many Germans are there? It feels like the whole Wehrmacht is in these forests. Everywhere we turn them, there they are. Patrols, convoys, artillery positions, machine gun nests. We're like mice in a field, trying to avoid the hawks, trying to stay hidden, trying to survive. Henderson is falling apart completely now. He cries constantly, doesn't even try to hide it anymore. Just lets the tears stream down his face, freezing on his cheeks. During the day, he just stares at nothing, follows where we lead him, doesn't speak, doesn't react, just exists. Shell shock, combat fatigue, battle stress, whatever you want to call it. His mind has broken under the strain. I want to help him, want to comfort him, want to tell him it's going to be okay, but I can't. Because I'm barely functioning myself, because I don't know if it's going to be okay, because I'm one more shock away from breaking just like he did. We're all on the edge, all of us. One more trauma, one more horror, one more death, and we'll shatter. The hunger is constant now. We've been living on scraps for 4 days. The K rations we took from the dead men, split between 8 of us, they don't go far. My stomach cramps constantly. I'm weak, dizzy. We all are. But worse than the hunger is the cold. The temperature has dropped even further. Below 0 Fahrenheit now. Henderson thinks it's around -10. Maybe worse. My breath freezes on my scarf instantly. Ice forms on my eyebrows, my eyelashes. I have to blink constantly to keep ice from forming and freezing my eyes shut. The cold is an enemy as deadly as the Germans. More deadly, maybe. You can hide from Germans. You can't hide from cold. Men die from exposure out here. Lie down in the snow and never get up. Give up fighting the cold and just let it take them. It would be easy. So easy. Just lie down. Close your eyes. Let the cold take you. Painless, probably. They say freezing to death is like going to sleep, but I can't. Won't. Dorothy is waiting for me. My family is waiting. I promised I'd come home. I have to keep that promise. I think about surrendering. Williams brings it up constantly now, every few hours. We could give up, he says, become POWs, sit out the rest of the war in a camp, better than freezing to death out here. And maybe he's right. Maybe surrender is the smart choice, the logical choice. The 422nd and 423rd Regiments, the main force, they're probably all captured by now. 8,000 men, prisoners. Maybe we should join them. Maybe we should accept the inevitable, but I can't. Not after seeing those executed prisoners, not after knowing what might happen. The Germans are supposed to follow the Geneva Convention, treat prisoners humanely, but those men against the wall, they were prisoners, and they were murdered. No, I won't surrender. Not while I can still walk, not while I can still fight. We'll keep moving west. We'll find the American lines. We have to. The alternative is dying out here in this frozen forest, alone, forgotten, and I won't let that happen. Dorothy is waiting for me. My family is waiting. I promised I'd come home. I will keep that promise. I have to. December 20th, 1944, dawn. Still alive somehow. We kept moving all night, stumbling through the forest, following the compass when we could read it, just heading west when we couldn't. Around 0300 hours, we heard American voices, someone shouting in English, a Bronx accent. The most beautiful sound I've ever heard. We came out of the trees with our hands up, shouting that we were friendly, shouting our unit designations, praying they wouldn't shoot us. They almost did. The boys on the line were jumpy, expecting German infiltrators, Germans dressed in American uniforms, paratroopers behind our lines. We were challenged, had to answer questions. Who won the World Series? Who's the president? What state is Chicago in? Questions only Americans would know. We answered, proved we were who we said we were. They let us through. We'd made it. Through the German lines, back to American forces. We're safe. Relatively. They took us to a command post, asked questions. Where had we been? What had we seen? What happened to our units? I told them everything I could. About the 16th, about the barrage, about the encirclement, about the men who died. Morrison told them about troop movements we'd observed, German units, tank formations, artillery positions, everything we'd seen during our escape. Then they gave us coffee, hot coffee, real coffee, not the powdered stuff from K rations. I held the cup in both hands, let the heat seep into my frozen fingers, took a sip. It was bitter and strong and perfect. And I started crying, right there, hot tears streaming down my face, mixing with the coffee. I couldn't stop. The officer who'd been questioning us just looked away, gave me privacy, let me cry. Because he understood. He'd seen it before, seen men break when they finally reached safety, when the adrenaline finally wore off and the reality hit them. They gave us food too, real food, hot stew, bread, more coffee. I ate too fast, shoveled it in. My stomach couldn't handle it. I threw it all back up, everything. A medic came over, made me slow down, eat carefully, small bites, let my body adjust. You're severely malnourished, he said. Your body isn't ready for a full meal. Easy does it. So I ate slowly, one spoonful at a time, and kept it down. Then they told us the news. The 422nd and 423rd Infantry Regiments surrendered yesterday. December 19th. The entire force on the Schnee Eifel. Between 7 and 9,000 men, largest American surrender since Bataan in 1942, 8,000 men, surrounded, cut off, no ammunition, no food, no hope of relief. They surrendered. All those boys I knew, all those faces I'd seen in the chow lines, in the card games, in the dugouts and foxholes, gone, captured, prisoners, or dead. The officer said the division is being reorganized. Survivors like us are being formed into provisional units. They need every man they can get. The German offensive is still going. They've pushed 40 miles west into Belgium, creating a huge bulge in the Allied lines. That's what they're calling it. The Battle of the Bulge. And we're in the middle of it. The officer checked his roster when I asked about the 589th Field Artillery Battalion. About Battery B. My unit. He shook his head. Most of the battalion is gone, captured or killed. A few guns escaped. A few crews made it out. But as a fighting unit, you're destroyed. Davis, Morrison, Kowalski, the whole crew, gone. Either dead or prisoners. I'll probably never know which. And I'm alive. I don't understand it. Why me? Why did I survive when better men died? Davis had a wife and a baby daughter. Morrison was a career soldier. He knew his job. Kowalski was young and full of life. Why am I still here when they're gone? There's no answer. Just random chance. Arbitrary fate. Meaningless luck. The medic saw my feet. Made me take off my boots so he could look. His face went grim when he saw the black toes. You need a hospital, he said. These need to come off. If we don't amputate soon, the infection will spread. You could lose the whole foot, maybe the leg. I asked if it could wait. He shook his head. It's already waited too long. You should have gotten treatment days ago. But there was no treatment days ago. Just survival, just moving, just trying to stay alive. He wanted to send me to the rear immediately, to a field hospital, get the toes amputated properly. I refused. I can still fight. I can still serve. The medic started to argue. Morrison cut him off. Let him stay, Doc. We need every man. He says he can fight. Let him fight. So I'm staying. For now. They assigned us to a provisional artillery unit, mixed crews from different battalions, whoever is available. Whatever guns we can scrape together, we're being thrown back into the line immediately, today, this afternoon, because the Germans are still coming, still pushing west, and every man who can hold a weapon is needed. I've been in combat for 5 days, feels like 5 years. Something inside me has changed, broken, reformed into something else. I'm not the boy who arrived here on December 11th. That boy is dead. I don't know who I am now. I'm harder, colder, numb to things that should horrify me. I've seen men die, killed a man myself, watched friends disappear, and I'm still functioning, still following orders, still doing the job. But at what cost? What have I lost? What part of my humanity died in that frozen forest? I don't know. All I know is that I'm alive. And I have a job to do. Tonight we move up. Back to the guns, back to the war. Dorothy, I'm alive. I made it through the worst of it. But I'm not the same. I'll never be the same. The boy you fell in love with is gone. dead in a Belgian forest, killed by fear and violence and horror. Someone else is wearing his skin now, someone harder, someone who's seen too much. I hope you can still love who I've become, because I'm not sure I can love myself anymore. December 21st, 1944, afternoon. Back on the guns, back in the war. They assigned me to a scratch battery formed from survivors. The gunner is a tech sergeant named Russo, from Brooklyn. Tough, competent, been in the army since 41. Knows his business. The rest of the crew is a mix. Some from the 106 like me, some from other units that got chewed up in the opening days. The 28th Division, the 99th. All thrown together. Strangers working a gun. We've been firing constantly since this morning. Fire missions every 20, 30 minutes. The targets are German concentrations. Armor, infantry, supply columns, anything and everything. They're still pushing west, still trying to break through, but slower now, running into stiffer resistance. The Allied lines are solidifying, reinforcements are arriving, the initial shock has worn off. We're fighting back now. The weather broke today. For the first time in a week, the clouds lifted. We saw blue sky, actual blue sky, and American planes, fighters and bombers, dozens of them, hundreds of them, filling the sky. The roar of engines, the sight of those white stars on the wings. I could have cried, almost did. During the fog, during the bad weather, the Germans had air superiority. Their planes hit us at will. We couldn't do anything about it. But now it's our turn. I watched a flight of P-47s, Thunderbolts, ihr Thunderbolts. Beautiful aircraft, powerful, 850 caliber machine guns, bombs and rockets under the wings. They made a strafing run on a German column maybe 2 miles east of us, dove out of the sky like hawks, guns blazing, rockets firing. The column erupted in flames, trucks exploding, men scattering, secondary explosions as ammunition cooked off. Beautiful and terrible at the same time. The Air Corps boys are making the difference. The Germans can't move in daylight anymore without getting hit. Their tanks have to hide. Their supply columns have to wait for darkness. Their advance is stalling, slowing, stopping. We're winning, slowly, but winning. But they're not done yet. We're still taking incoming fire. 88s, mortars. The fighting is still fierce, still deadly. Around 1400 hours we took counter-battery fire. The Germans spotted our muzzle flashes, sent some 88 shells our way. 3 shells landed in our battery position. 1 hit gun number 4, direct hit. The gun was destroyed, just torn apart, metal twisted, the barrel bent. The crew was wiped out. 6 men, all dead, killed instantly. I watched it happen, saw the shell coming in, saw the impact, saw bodies thrown through the air like rag dolls, and I didn't feel anything, just noted it, registered it, kept working. Is this what war does? Makes you numb? Makes you able to watch men die and feel nothing? Because if you felt everything, if you felt each death, you'd go insane. Maybe that's the only way to survive. Turn off your emotions, become a machine, just function. Russo says I'm doing good, says I'm steady, reliable, says that's what's needed in an artillery crew. You got ice in your veins, Kellerman, he said. That's good. That'll keep you alive. Ice in my veins. Is that what I have now? Ice where blood used to be? I don't feel steady. Inside I'm screaming. Inside I'm breaking apart. But outside I'm functioning, doing the job, following the procedures, loading shells, setting fuses, pulling lanyards. Over and over. Mechanical, automatic. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all you can ask for. We got mail call tonight. First time since the offensive started. A letter from Dorothy. Dated December 1st. Before any of this happened. She writes about work at the mill, about the Christmas party they had, about buying presents for her family, about the weather back home, snow in Altoona. The town decorated for Christmas. She writes about ordinary things, normal things, things that belong to a different world, a world where people worry about Christmas parties and snow and presents, a world I don't belong to anymore. It's like reading about another planet, a place I used to live but can't imagine returning to. How do you bridge the gap? How do you go from watching men die to worrying about Christmas presents? How do you transition from combat to normal life? How do you become the person who cares about those things again? I don't know if you can. I started writing a letter back to her. Got as far as Dear Dorothy, I got your letter. Then I stopped. Because I don't know what to say. How do I tell her about what I've seen, about what I've done, about who I've become? How do I explain that I killed a man? That I watched friends die? That something inside me is broken and might never be fixed? I can't. Not in a letter. Maybe not ever. So I'll write cheerful lies. Tell her I'm okay. Tell her I'm safe. Tell her I love her and I'm coming home. All true in a way, but not the whole truth. Never the whole truth. The truth would destroy her, would give her nightmares, would make her worry herself sick. Better to lie, better to protect her from this. The temperature dropped again tonight, below 0. My toes are worse. The black tissue is spreading. The medic who looked at them said I'm risking sepsis, blood poisoning. Could kill me, but I can't leave. Not yet. They need every man. I'll deal with my toes later. After we stop the Germans. After we push them back. If I'm still alive by then. December 22nd, 1944, evening. Still firing, still fighting. The war grinds on. We've settled into a rhythm. Fire mission comes in. Set the gun. Load. Fire. Adjust. Fire for effect. Clean the gun. Wait for the next mission. Over and over. Hour after hour. Day after day. My body knows the movements now. Doesn't have to think. Just does. Load the shell. Check the fuse. Close the breech. Stand clear. Fire. Automatic. Mechanical. Efficient. Russo says our crew is one of the best in the battery. Fast, accurate, professional. Says we work like we've been together for years instead of days. Maybe shared trauma bonds people. Maybe surviving together creates a connection that time alone can't. Or maybe we're just good at our jobs. The news from the front is mixed. The Germans are still pushing in some sectors, but they have been stopped in others. Bastogne is still surrounded, but holding. Saint-Vith fell yesterday. The town was obliterated, leveled by artillery and tank fire. But the German advance has slowed dramatically. They're running out of fuel, running out of supplies. Their offensive is losing momentum, and our reinforcements keep arriving. Patton's Third Army is driving north from the south, trying to relieve Bastogne. The 82nd and 101st Airborne are fighting like demons. British units are moving in from the north. The tide is turning, slowly, but turning. We just have to hold on, keep fighting, keep them from breaking through. Around noon today, we fired a mission in support of a counterattack. American infantry trying to retake a village. 20 rounds of high explosive. Walking the shells across the German positions. I watched through binoculars as they impacted. Saw the explosions. Saw buildings collapse. Saw figures running, falling. German soldiers. Someone's sons. Someone's husbands. Someone's brothers. And I felt nothing. Just professional satisfaction. We'd done the job correctly. Hit the target. Supported our infantry. That scares me more than the fear did. The numbness. The ability to watch men die and feel nothing. What am I becoming? What kind of person can kill without feeling? Russo says it's normal. Says everyone goes through it. You can't function in combat if you feel everything, he told me. You have to shut down, protect yourself. It's survival. But what if you can't turn it back on? What if the numbness becomes permanent? What if I go home and I can't feel anything for Dorothy, for my family, for life? That terrifies me. More than dying, more than anything. Because if I can't feel, what's the point of surviving? Henderson is gone. They evacuated him yesterday. Complete breakdown. Couldn't function anymore. Just sat in a foxhole, staring at nothing, rocking back and forth. The medics took him away. To a hospital in the rear. Combat fatigue, they called it. Shell shock. Battle stress. He'll probably be okay eventually. With rest. With treatment. With distance from this nightmare. But he'll never be the same either. None of us will. This war takes things from you, things you can't get back. Innocence, peace, the ability to sleep without nightmares, the ability to hear loud noises without flinching. We're all damaged, all scarred, even those of us who survive intact physically. The wounds don't all show. Williams is still with us. limping on his wounded leg but functional. He shares a foxhole with me now. We take turns on watch, talk sometimes in the quiet hours. He talks about his farm in Nebraska. Thousands of acres of wheat and corn. His family has worked that land for 3 generations. When I get home, he says, I'm never leaving. Never. I'm going to farm that land until I die. Marry some local girl. Have a bunch of kids. Never travel more than 50 miles from home again. I envy his certainty, his clear vision of the future. I don't know what my future looks like anymore. Don't know if I can go back to being a railroad clerk. Don't know if I can live a normal life. Don't know if Dorothy will still want me when she sees who I've become. But I have to try. Have to survive. Have to get home. That's all I can do. One day at a time. One mission at a time. One breath at a time. Survive at December 24th, 1944 night. Christmas Eve. There was a ceasefire tonight. Not official. Just something that happened. We'd been firing all day. Long missions. The Germans are making another push toward Bastogne, trying to take the town before Patton's relief force arrives. We're supporting the defenders, dropping shells on German positions around the perimeter. Around 2000 hours, the firing stopped, both sides, like someone had called time out, like the universe decided we'd had enough for one day. The night was clear, cold but clear, stars everywhere. The moon nearly full, casting blue light across the snow-covered forest. Beautiful, peaceful, almost like there's no war. Then we heard singing, from the German lines, maybe 400 yards away, voices carrying across the frozen forest, Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht, Silent Night, Holy Night. The melody was beautiful, haunting, male voices in harmony, singing a song about peace on a night of war, singing about a holy night when the world was supposed to change, when hope was born. One of our boys started singing along. A kid from Georgia named Miller, baritone voice. He sang in English. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Others joined in. Then all of us were singing, Americans and Germans, 400 yards apart, singing the same song in different languages. For 5 minutes, maybe 10, there was no war, just the song, just human voices in the darkness, just men remembering what it means to be human. It was beautiful and heartbreaking, because tomorrow we'll go back to killing each other. Tomorrow the guns will fire again. Tomorrow men will die. But for those few minutes there was peace, real peace, not the absence of fighting, but the presence of something good, something that transcends the war. When the singing ended, silence fell. Complete silence. Nobody wanted to break the spell. Then someone on our side fired a flare. Orange light bloomed in the sky. The moment was over. We went back to our positions. Back to the war. But for those few minutes, it was Christmas. I thought about last Christmas, about Mass at St. John's, about the choir singing, about candles and incense and the priest intoning the ancient words, about Mom's dinner, turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes, pie for dessert, the whole family around the table, about giving Dorothy the ring, about her saying yes, about her tears of joy, about holding her and knowing that everything was going to be okay. 1 year ago. Different lifetime, different world. I thought about Christmas when I was a kid, the excitement of Christmas morning, the presents under the tree, the magic of it all, believing in Santa Claus, believing in miracles, believing that the world was fundamentally good. I can't believe those things anymore. I've seen too much, know too much. The world isn't good. It's violent and random and cruel. But I want to believe. God, I want to. I want to believe that love matters, that sacrifice means something, that there's purpose to all this suffering. I want to believe. We had a Christmas meal tonight. The cooks managed to scrounge up something better than K-rations. Turkey, or something that was supposed to be turkey. Probably came from cans dated 1942. But they tried. Potatoes, gravy, even some kind of cake. Dense and dry, but sweet. It was good. Or maybe I was just hungry enough that anything would taste good. Rousseau gave a toast, stood up, raised his canteen cup. To the boys who aren't here, to the boys who died, to the boys who are prisoners, to the boys in hospitals, to all the golden lions. We drank to that. Coffee instead of anything stronger. But we drank. To Kowalski, to Davis, to Morrison, to Rodriguez, to all the boys who died or were captured or wounded, to the 106th Division, the Golden Lions. We weren't supposed to be heroes. We were just green troops sent to a quiet sector to learn the ropes, but we fought. When the hammer came down, we fought. We held the line as long as we could, and when we couldn't hold anymore, we made them pay for every yard. The division was destroyed, but we didn't surrender without a fight. We didn't break and run. We stood, we fought, we died. That has to count for something. After dinner, I found the chaplain, different one from before. Older man, maybe 50, kind eyes, tired eyes. He was in a dugout, reading his Bible by candlelight. The pages were worn, well read, passages underlined, notes in the margins. I sat down next to him. We didn't speak for a while, just sat together in the candlelight. Finally, I asked him the questions, the ones that have been eating at me, about God, about why this is happening, about what any of it means. He was quiet for a long time, looking at his Bible, at the worn pages and underlined passages. I don't have good answers, he said finally. I've been asking those questions for 20 years. Since the last war, I still don't know. I asked him how he keeps faith when nothing makes sense, when men die for no reason, when evil seems to win. He thought about it, really thought. Not just giving me platitudes, actually considering the question. I don't think faith means having answers, he said. I think it means choosing to believe in something good even when the evidence suggests otherwise. Choosing to believe that love matters, that sacrifice matters, that human dignity matters, that there's meaning even when we can't see it. Even when men are being murdered, I asked. Even when boys are dying for no reason? Even when everything is chaos and violence? Especially then, he said. That's when it matters most. When everything is dark, that's when you have to choose to believe in light. I told him about the German boy I killed, about his wedding ring, about the photograph of his wife, about how I can't stop seeing his face. The chaplain listened, didn't interrupt, didn't judge, just listened. When I finished, he put his hand on my shoulder. You did what you had to do to survive, he said. That's not murder, that's war. And war is evil, the worst evil humans can create, but you're not evil for surviving it. I asked if I could be forgiven, if God could forgive me for taking a life. God forgives, he said. God always forgives. The question is whether you can forgive yourself. Can I? I don't know. But maybe that's what I have to work toward. Maybe that's the task for after the war. Learning to forgive myself. Learning to live with what I've done. If I survive that long. After I left the chaplain, I thought about what he said. About choosing to believe in something good. I believe in Dorothy. I believe in our love. I believe that matters. I believe in my family. In the life we had before the war. In the possibility of a life after. I believed that Kowalski's life mattered, that Davis and Morrison and all the boys who died mattered, that their sacrifice meant something. I believe that the men fighting right now, in Bastogne and Saint-Vith and all along this front, they're doing something that matters, fighting for something worth fighting for. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all the faith I can manage right now. But it's something, it's a start. Merry Christmas, Dorothy. Merry Christmas, Mom and Dad and Margaret. I love you all. I'm thinking of you tonight. I wish I was home. December 26, 1944, morning. News came through this morning. Patton broke through to Bastogne yesterday. Christmas Day. His Third Army, pushing from the south, made it to the town. Relieved the 101st Airborne and the other defenders. It's a turning point. Everyone can feel it. The German offensive has stalled. They didn't take Bastogne. They didn't cross the Meuse River. They didn't reach Antwerp. They're running out of fuel, out of supplies, out of time. Their offensive is broken. Now they're trying to consolidate, trying to hold what they've taken, but we're pushing back, slowly, yard by yard, mile by mile. We're winning. But it doesn't feel like winning. We've been fighting for 11 days straight, 11 days of shells and death and cold. The exhaustion is beyond anything I've ever felt. I'm so tired I could sleep for a week. My body aches constantly. My eyes burn. My head throbs. I can't remember what it feels like to be rested. But I can't sleep. Even when I have the chance, I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see things. Kowalski's body. The German boy's face. Davis's hand, just gone. They executed prisoners, so I lie in my bedroll, eyes closed, not sleeping, just existing, waiting for time to pass. The mail came through again today. Another letter from Dorothy, dated December 1st. The same cheerful tone, the same ordinary concerns. She writes about the Christmas party at the mill, about buying a new dress, about seeing a movie with her sister, about the weather. Ordinary things, normal things, things that belong to a world I used to inhabit. It's dated before all this started, before the bulge, before everything changed. She doesn't know yet, doesn't know that I almost died, that I killed a man, that everything is different now. By the time she gets my next letter, she'll know something happened. The news is all over the papers back home by now. Big German offensive, American forces retreating, the worst fighting since D-Day. She'll be worried sick, terrified, not knowing if I'm alive or dead. I need to write to her, tell her I'm alive, tell her I'm okay. But how do I bridge the gap between her world and mine? How do I explain what it's like here to someone who's never seen combat? Someone who still lives in a world where the biggest concern is buying a new dress? I'm not angry at her, not resentful. I envy her. I wish I could still care about those things. Wish I could go back to being someone who worries about movies and Christmas parties. But I can't. That person is gone, dead in a Belgian forest. Around noon we got a hot meal, real coffee, hot soup, bread. Small things, but they matter. The warmth of the soup in my stomach, the taste of real coffee, the simple act of eating food that isn't frozen or from a can. Human comforts, reminders of civilization, of normalcy. My toes are worse, much worse. All 5 toes on my left foot are black now. The skin is hard, leathery, dead. The medic who looked at them this morning didn't even try to hide his concern. You need a hospital now. These need to come off before the infection spreads. If it reaches your bloodstream, you'll die. Blood poisoning, sepsis, a horrible way to die, fever, delirium, organ failure. But I can't leave. We're still short-handed. Every man is needed. After the offensive, I told the medic, after we pushed them back. He shook his head, told me I was being stupid, told me I was risking my life. But what's my life worth if I abandon my post? If I leave while others keep fighting? The toes can wait. A few more days. A week maybe. Then I'll go to a hospital, get them cut off, deal with it. If I'm still alive by then. This afternoon we fired a mission on a German assembly area. Tanks and infantry staging for an attack. 20 rounds of high explosive, walking the shells across the target. I watched through the binoculars as they impacted. Saw the explosions bloom, saw tanks erupt in flames, saw bodies thrown through the air. German soldiers, men, human beings. And I felt nothing, just satisfaction, professional pride. We'd done the job well, hit the target, stopped the attack before it started. Russo clapped me on the shoulder. Good shooting, Kellerman. We saved some of our boys' lives today. Maybe we did. Maybe the infantry we were supporting didn't get attacked because we destroyed the German force before it could move. Maybe we saved lives. But we also took lives, killed men who had families, who had people waiting for them. The moral calculus of war, killing to save, destroying to protect. I understand it intellectually, understand that this is necessary, that the Germans have to be stopped, that the Nazis have to be defeated. But understanding doesn't make it easier, doesn't fill the emptiness inside. What am I becoming? What kind of person kills without feeling? A soldier, I suppose. A combat veteran. Someone who's seen too much, done too much. Someone damaged. Maybe permanently. I'm terrified of going home like this. Terrified of what Dorothy will see when she looks at me. Will she see the boy she fell in love with? Or will she see this hollow thing wearing his face? Will she still love me? Can she love what I've become? I don't know. I hope so. God, I hope so. Because she's all I have left. The only good thing in my life. The only reason to keep going. If I lose her, what's the point? December 28th, 1944, afternoon. We're advancing, pushing the Germans back, retaking ground. We lost in the opening days. It's strange moving forward. We've been retreating or holding for so long. Now we're the ones attacking. The momentum has shifted. The Germans are falling back, trying to consolidate their positions, but they're running out of everything. fuel, ammunition, men, food. Their tanks are being abandoned when they run out of fuel. Their infantry is surrendering in groups, 50 men, 100 men, whole units giving up. The offensive is broken. Hitler's last gamble has failed. But the cost. God, the cost. We passed through some of the areas we abandoned on December 16th and 17th. The forest is devastated. Trees shattered, snapped off like matchsticks. Craters everywhere, some big enough to swallow a truck. Destroyed equipment scattered across the Wüste landscape. And bodies. So many bodies. American and German both. Frozen in the positions where they died. Covered in snow. Sometimes you don't see them until you almost step on them. The snow makes them peaceful looking, like they're just sleeping under white blankets. But when you brush the snow away, the reality hits you. The wounds, the frozen blood, the expressions of pain or fear or surprise. We're burying them as we go, digging graves in the frozen ground when we can, when we have time, when there aren't too many, collecting dog tags, trying to identify them, trying to give them some dignity. Around mid-morning, we found the gun position where Battery B had been set up, where I'd been on December 16th, where Kowalski died. The position was destroyed, completely torn apart. Shells had cratered the whole area. The dugout we'd slept in was collapsed. The gun emplacements were just holes in the ground, nothing left, no trace of the life we'd had there, gone like it never existed. I found Kowalski's body, still there after 12 days, frozen, partially buried in snow. I recognized him by his jacket, by the Polish eagle patch his mother had sent him, the one he'd sewn onto his sleeve despite regulations saying you couldn't personalize uniforms. We buried him properly, Morrison, Williams, Franklin, and me, what was left of the old crew. We dug a grave, laid him in it, covered him with frozen earth, said prayers, the Lord's Prayer, Hail Mary. Henderson would have known the right prayers, but he's gone. So we did the best we could. I stood there for a long time after, looking at the grave, trying to find words, trying to make sense of it. Kowalski was 20 years old, never got to go home to Chicago, never got to eat at his uncle's restaurant, never got to live the life he should have had, just dead in a Belgian forest, buried in frozen ground, far from everyone who loved him. I took his dog tags. I'll send them to his family. Let them know where he's buried. Let them know he wasn't alone at the end, that his friends were there, that he mattered. In the afternoon, we found the executed prisoners, the 32 men we'd seen on the 20th. Someone had covered them with snow, tried to give them dignity. We buried them too, lined them up properly in a long trench, said prayers over each one. It took hours. The ground was frozen. We had to use picks and shovels and sheer determination. But we did it. Because they deserved it. Because they were American soldiers. They were ours. And you don't leave your own unburied if you can help it. I wonder if the Germans who murdered them are still alive. If they got away. If they'll ever answer for what they did. Probably not. War is chaos. Justice is rare. The guilty often escape. The innocent often die. That's just how it is. Tonight we're bivouacked in a barn. Real shelter. A roof over our heads. Walls to block the wind. It's still cold, but warmer than a foxhole. I'm writing this by candlelight. The rest of the men are asleep, snoring, muttering in their sleep. Normal sounds, human sounds. I should sleep too. Get some rest while I can. Tomorrow we keep advancing, keep pushing the Germans back. But I can't sleep. My mind won't stop. Keeps replaying everything. The barrage, the retreat, the firefight, the German boy's face, over and over. Like a film loop that won't stop. I'm so tired. Not just physically, mentally, spiritually. Tired in my soul. I don't know how much more I can take. How much longer I can keep going. But I have to. Because the war isn't over. Because men are still fighting. Because my duty isn't done. So I'll keep going. One more day. One more mile. One more mission. Until it's over. Or until I can't go anymore. Whichever comes first. December 30th, 1944, evening. Got official confirmation today about the 422nd and 423rd Regiments. They surrendered on December 19th, just like we heard. Over 7,000 men captured, maybe 8,000. The exact number keeps changing depending on who you ask. Some of them are already in German POW camps. Stalag 9B, Stalag 4B, other camps in Germany and Poland. Others are being marched east, long columns of prisoners trudging through the snow. No food, little water, no shelter. Men are dying on those marches, freezing to death, collapsing from exhaustion, being shot if they can't keep up. The intelligence officers are hearing this from interrogated German prisoners, from Belgian civilians who watched the columns pass, from the few men who escaped. I don't know which is worse, what we went through or what they're going through now. Williams said maybe surrender would have been better. At least they're out of the fighting, at least the war is over for them. But I saw the executed prisoners, I know what can happen. I'd rather take my chances fighting. We're still firing missions, still supporting the advance, but the intensity has decreased. The Germans are in full retreat now. Their offensive is broken. The 106th Division lost over 9,000 men in the first week, most of them captured, thousands more killed or wounded. As a fighting unit, we're destroyed. They're calling it one of the worst American disasters of the war. The surrender on the Schnee Eifel, the Bulge, and we were there, right in the middle of it. The survivors, the ones like me who made it out, will be scattered to other units. The division will be reconstituted eventually, with replacements, new men who don't know what happened here. But it won't be the same. The Golden Lions are gone. My feet are really bad now, I can barely walk. The medic forced me to go to the aid station today, physically pulled me there. The doctor looked at my feet and his face went pale. You need a field hospital, he said. These toes need to come off immediately. If we don't amputate, you could lose the whole foot, maybe the leg, maybe your life if the infection reaches your bloodstream. I asked if it could wait a few more days. He stared at me like I was insane. It's already waited too long. You should have gotten treatment 2 weeks ago. This is serious, life-threatening. But I'm still fighting, still functioning. Surely that means I'm okay enough. The doctor didn't agree. He overrode my protests, filed paperwork. I'm being evacuated tomorrow, sent to a field hospital in the rear. They'll amputate the toes, keep me off my feet for a few weeks while I heal. Part of me is relieved. A break from the fighting. Time to rest, time to heal. Part of me feels like a coward, leaving while others keep fighting. Abandoning my post. Russo told me I'm an idiot, told me I did my part, told me nobody would think less of me for getting my feet fixed. You fought well, Kellerman. You did your duty. Now let the docs fix you up so you can fight another day. Maybe he's right. Maybe I've earned a rest, but it feels wrong. Feels like quitting. Still, the orders are cut. I leave tomorrow. To a hospital, to surgery, to whatever comes after. I'll write more from there, if I can. January 1st, 1945, New Year's Day, Field Hospital, somewhere in Belgium. They took the toes off yesterday, December 31st, last day of 1944. The surgery was quick, local anesthetic. I was awake for it, watched them do it. The surgeon was good, efficient. He explained everything as he worked. The tissue is dead, necrotic. If we leave it, the infection will spread. You'll lose the foot, possibly the leg, possibly your life. He made his cuts, clean, precise incisions, removed the dead tissue, the blackened toes, second, third, and fourth toes on my left foot, just gone, stitched me up, bandaged the wounds, gave me sulfa drugs to fight infection, morphine for pain. You're lucky, he said. Another week and this would have been much worse. You would have lost the foot for sure. Lucky. I've lost 3 toes and I'm lucky. I suppose that's true. Compared to the alternative, compared to dying from sepsis, compared to Kowalski and all the others who didn't make it at all. I'm lucky. Now I'm in a bed with clean sheets, real bed. First time in over a month. The hospital is in a converted school building, somewhere behind the lines. Warm, safe, quiet. I can't sleep. Too quiet. I keep waiting for shells to start falling, keep listening for the German guns. But there's nothing, just the sound of nurses walking, other wounded men groaning, crying out in their sleep, the ordinary sounds of a hospital. I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm alive. I've got all my limbs, minus a few toes. I can walk with a limp. I can function. The man in the next bed lost both legs, stepped on a mine, anti-personnel mine designed to maim rather than kill. It did its job. He's 19 years old, Farm boy from Iowa. Name is Peterson. Or maybe Patterson. I can't remember. He cries all night. Quiet crying, trying to muffle it in his pillow. But I can hear him keep saying he wants to die, that his life is over, that no girl will ever want him now. I don't know what to say to him. What comfort can I offer? That at least he's alive? That seems hollow when you've lost both legs at 19. Another man across the way is burned over half his body. Tank caught fire. Gasoline burns. His crew got him out, but barely. He's in constant pain. They've got him on morphine every 4 hours, but it barely helps. You can hear him screaming when they change his dressings. These are the survivors, the ones who made it, the lucky ones. What about the ones who didn't make it? The ones buried in frozen graves or lying uncovered in the forest? The ones who died instantly or the ones who died slowly, alone and scared? Are they the lucky ones? Is death better than this? I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. Last year, New Year's Eve, 1943, I was at a party in Altoona. Dorothy was there. We danced. We kissed at midnight. We made plans for the future. 1 year ago. Different lifetime, different universe. What a difference a year makes. Last New Year's Eve, I was a civilian clerk planning a wedding. This New Year's Eve, I was on a surgeon's table watching my toes being cut off. I don't know what this year will bring. Maybe the war will end. Maybe I'll go home. Maybe I'll marry Dorothy and start that normal life we planned. Or maybe I'll die in some other battle. Some other forest. Some other frozen hell. I don't know. Can't predict it. Can't control it. All I know is that I survived the Bulge. Survived the worst the Germans could throw at us. Survived when better men died. That has to mean something. Has to have purpose. Or maybe it's just random. Meaningless chance. And I'm trying to impose meaning where none exists. The nurse just came by. Asked if I needed anything. I said no. She smiled, moved on to the next bed. She's kind. All the nurses here are kind. Patient, caring, professional, dealing with broken men day after day, and they never lose their compassion. They're the real heroes, not the soldiers who kill, the people who heal, the ones who put broken bodies back together, who comfort dying men, who clean wounds and change dressings and listen to grown men cry. They see the worst of what war does, and they still care, still try to help, still show compassion. How do they do it? Where do they find that strength? I don't know, but I'm grateful for it. I need to write to my family. Let them know I'm alive. Let them know I'm okay, or as okay as I can be. I need to write to Dorothy. Really write to her. Tell her the truth, or as much of the truth as I can. But not yet, not today. Today I'm just going to lie here in this clean bed and be grateful I'm alive. Tomorrow I'll figure out the rest. Tomorrow. January 2nd, 1945, afternoon, still in hospital. I'm writing this with some difficulty. My hand keeps cramping. The pen keeps slipping. But I need to write. Need to process. Need to make sense of things. I saw a chaplain today. Different one from before. Older man, maybe 55, gray hair, tired eyes that have seen too much. He came around to all the beds, talking to the wounded, offering comfort, prayer, whatever we needed. When he got to me, I asked him to sit, stay a while. We talked about God, about faith, about why terrible things happen, about what it all means. The same questions I keep asking, the ones that have been eating at me since December 16th. He didn't pretend to have easy answers. I appreciated that. I've been a chaplain for 23 years, he said. Served in the last war too. France, 1918, the trenches, the gas attacks, the slaughter. He paused, stared at his hands. I've been asking these questions for 23 years. I still don't have good answers. I asked him how he keeps faith when nothing makes sense, when men die for no reason, when evil seems to triumph. He thought about it for a long time. Really considered the question. I don't think faith means having answers, he finally said. I think it means choosing to believe in something good, even when the evidence suggests otherwise. What good? I asked. Where's the good in this? Where's the good in boys dying? In men being burned alive? In suffering and death? He gestured around the hospital ward, at the nurses moving from bed to bed, at the doctors working to save lives, at the wounded men helping each other. There, he said, in the people who heal instead of hurt, in the compassion, in the moments of kindness, in the men who sacrifice for their friends, that's the good. I thought about that. about Morrison staying with the gun when he could have run, about the medic who treated my toes even though he was exhausted, about Dorothy's letters, full of love and hope. Maybe he's right. Maybe that's where you find God, not in the big questions, not in explanations for suffering, but in the small moments of kindness, in love that persists despite everything. I told him about the German boy I killed, about the wedding ring, about the photograph, about how I can't stop seeing his face. The chaplain listened, didn't interrupt, didn't judge, just listened with those tired, compassionate eyes. When I finished, he said, "You did what you had to do to survive. That's not murder, that's war, and war is evil, the worst thing humans can create, but you're not evil for surviving it." Then why do I feel this way? I asked. Why can't I stop thinking about it? Why does it eat at me? Because you're human, he said. Because you have a conscience. Because you recognize the value of human life, even enemy life. That's not weakness, that's humanity. He told me that guilt is the price we pay for surviving, that it's natural, that it doesn't make me a bad person. The question isn't whether you can avoid guilt, he said. The question is whether you can live with it, whether you can carry it without letting it destroy you. I asked if I could be forgiven, if God could forgive me. God forgives, he said without hesitation. God always forgives, that's the whole point. The question is whether you can forgive yourself. Can I? I don't know. Right now, it doesn't feel possible. But maybe someday, maybe with time, maybe with distance from this nightmare, maybe. After the chaplain left, I thought about what he said, about choosing to believe in something good. I choose to believe in Dorothy, in our love, in the possibility of a life together. I choose to believe that what we did mattered, that stopping the Nazis is worth the cost, that the sacrifice means something. I choose to believe that I can heal, that I can learn to live with what I've done and what I've seen, that I can become whole again or something close to it. Maybe that's all faith is. Not certainty, not answers, just choosing to believe in possibility, choosing to hope. This afternoon I wrote to Dorothy, really wrote to her, told her the truth, or as much of the truth as I could. I told her about the offensive, about being scared, about being wounded, about the toes. I didn't tell her everything, some things she doesn't need to know. The full horror of it. The German boy, the executed prisoners. Those truths stay in this diary, stay with me. But I told her enough. Told her I'm different now. Told her I've changed. Told her I don't know if I can be the person she remembers. And I told her I love her. Told her I want to marry her. Told her I'm afraid she won't want me anymore, now that I'm damaged. I sealed the letter before I could change my mind. Gave it to a nurse to mail. Now I wait. Wait to heal. Wait for her response. Wait to see if love can survive this. January 3rd, 1945, morning. Hospital. Transfer orders came through today. Once I can walk properly, I'm being sent to a replacement depot. Then reassigned to a new unit. The 106th Division is being reconstituted, but I won't be going back to them. They're sending me to a different division. The 78th Infantry Division need experienced artillerymen. Experienced. 3 weeks ago, I'd never been in combat. Now I'm experienced. That's what surviving the Bulge does. Makes you experienced fast. I can walk short distances now. The stitches are healing. The wounds look good. No signs of infection. The doctor says I'll have a limp. Maybe permanent, maybe not, but I'll be able to serve. Part of me wonders if I should try to get discharged. Medical discharge. 3 toes gone, permanent limp, combat stress. That's enough for a discharge probably. I could go home. Right now. Be with Dorothy by February. Marry her in the spring like we originally planned. Put this nightmare behind me. Try to forget. Try to move on. But I can't do it. Can't leave while the war is still going. While other men are fighting. I owe it to the boys who died. Kowalski, Davis, Morrison, all the Golden Lions who didn't make it. The least I can do is finish what we started. See it through to the end. Then I can go home. Then I can try to build a normal life. But not yet. Not while the fighting continues. I spent this morning writing, not in the diary, in a separate notebook a nurse gave me. I'm writing down everything I remember about the boys from Battery B, about the 106th Division, their names, where they were from, details about them, Kowalski's jokes, Davis's slow Georgia drawl, Morrison's quiet competence, Henderson's fear. All of them. Because someone needs to remember. Someone needs to bear witness. Someone needs to make sure they're not just statistics in a report. The official records will show that the 589th Field Artillery Battalion suffered 60% casualties during the Battle of the Bulge, that the 106th Division lost over 9,000 men. Just numbers, cold, impersonal numbers. But behind those numbers are names, faces, lives, dreams that will never be realized, families who will grieve, futures that were stolen. I'm writing it all down, every detail I can remember, every story, every face. Private First Class Anthony Kowalski, Chicago, Illinois. 20 years old. Killed December 16th, 1944. Loved to play cards. Talked about his uncle's restaurant. Always had a smile. Corporal James Davis, Atlanta, Georgia. 24 years old. Lost right hand December 16th. Died of shock and blood loss. Married. Father of a baby girl he never met. Sergeant William Morrison, career Army, age 30, missing, presumed killed or captured. Best NCO I ever knew. Kept us alive as long as he could. And on and on. Names and faces and lives. All of them recorded. All of them remembered. Maybe someday Dorothy will read this. Or my children, if I have children. Or maybe no one will ever read it. But it needs to be written. They need to be remembered. That's my duty now, to remember, to tell the story, to make sure they're not forgotten, to bear witness. This afternoon I got a letter from Dorothy, sent December 20th, before she knew about the Bulge, full of love and hope and plans for the future, talking about the house we'll rent, the furniture we'll buy, the life we'll build. I cried reading it. Just sat here in the hospital bed and sobbed, big, ugly, gasping sobs, couldn't stop. The nurse came over, asked if I was okay, if I needed anything. I told her I was fine. These were good tears. Relief, gratitude, love. Dorothy still loves me, still wants to marry me, still believes in our future, even though she doesn't know yet what I've become, what I've done, what I've lost. When she gets my letter, the one I sent yesterday, she'll know. She'll know I'm different, damaged. Will she still love me then? When she knows the truth? I hope so. God, I hope so. Because I don't know what I'll do if she doesn't. Don't know how I'll survive. She's my anchor, my reason, my hope. Without her, what's the point? I'm writing her back tonight. Telling her yes, yes to everything, yes to marriage, yes to life, yes to the future, whatever it holds. I'm different now, I know that. I'm damaged, scarred, I have nightmares, I flinch at loud sounds, I see dead men's faces when I close my eyes. I'll carry this for the rest of my life. The bulge, the fear, the death, the guilt. But I'm alive. And Dorothy loves me, and there's still good in the world. That has to be enough. It has to be. January 3rd, 1945, night. Final entry in this diary. I'm closing this diary tonight. Starting fresh with a new one tomorrow. The hospital gave me a new notebook. Clean pages. No blood stains. No mud. No tears. New year. New beginning. Or trying to anyway. I got another letter from Dorothy today. This one sent December 28th. After the news broke about the bulge, she's terrified. The letter is frantic, desperate, begging me to write, begging me to tell her I'm alive. The newspapers ran stories about the 106th Division, about the surrender, about the disaster. She knows I was there, knows I was in the middle of it, and she hasn't heard from me in weeks. Of course she's terrified. I wrote back immediately, long letter, telling her everything is okay, I'm alive, I'm wounded but healing, I'm safe, telling her I love her, telling her not to worry, telling her I'm coming home. All true, or true enough. I am coming home, eventually, when this is over, and I do love her, more than anything. The question is whether I'll be whole enough to be a good husband, whether I can learn to live a normal life again, whether I can be the man she deserves. I don't know, but I'm going to try. God, I'm going to try. I'm different now. I know that. I've accepted it. The boy who arrived in the Ardennes on December 11th is dead, killed by fear and violence and horror. Someone else is wearing his skin now, someone harder, colder, damaged and dead. But maybe that's okay. Maybe damage doesn't mean broken beyond repair. Maybe scars can heal, even if they never disappear completely. Maybe I can build a life despite this. With Dorothy, with my family. Maybe I can find peace again. Maybe. The war isn't over. I'll go back to it. I'll serve until it's done. I'll do my duty. But when it's over, when I finally get to go home, I'm gonna marry that girl. I'm gonna build the life we planned. It won't be the life I imagined before the war. I'm not the same person who imagined it. But it can still be good. It can still matter. It can still be worth living. I'm going to live. Because I owe that to the boys who can't, to Kowalski, to Davis, to Morrison, to all the Golden Lions who died in the Ardennes. I'll live for them. I'll remember for them. I'll build a good life in their honor, and maybe, someday, the nightmares will fade. The fear will loosen its grip. The guilt will ease. Maybe. But for now, I'm just grateful. Grateful to be alive. Grateful for Dorothy's love. Grateful for one more day. Tomorrow I start fresh. New diary, new unit, new chapter. But I'll never forget these past weeks. December 11th through January 3rd. 23 days that changed everything. 23 days that destroyed the boy I was and created whatever I am now. I survived the Battle of the Bulge, and now I have to learn how to survive the peace. Epilogue. Letter from Dorothy Sullivan, February 14th, 1945. My dearest Jimmy, I got all your letters. Every single one. They arrived in a batch, all at once. I think the mail was delayed by the fighting. But they're here now. I've read them over and over until the paper is wearing thin, until I've memorized every word. I'm so sorry for everything you went through. I can't imagine what it was like. I can't comprehend the horror of it. But I want you to know something. I need you to hear this. You are not damaged. You are not broken. You are not less than you were. You are a man who went through hell and survived. You are someone who did his duty even when it was terrifying. You are someone who cared about his friends, who mourned when they died, who carries their memory with honor. That's not damage. That's humanity. That's strength. That's love. Yes, you're different now. I understand that. You've seen things I can't imagine. You've experienced things that will stay with you forever. You've been changed by what you went through, but you're still Jimmy. You're still the boy who gave me his grandmother's ring on a cold December night. You're still the man I fell in love with. You're still the person I want to spend my life with. Whatever nightmares you have, we'll face them together. Whatever scars you carry, I'll help you bear them. Whatever you need to tell me, I'll listen. And whatever you can't tell me, I'll respect that too. I love you, all of you, the you that you were, and the you that you are now, and the you that you'll become. You say you're afraid I won't want you anymore, now that you're damaged. That breaks my heart. Because you could never be anything but wanted by me. Never. When you come home, and you will come home, we'll get married. We'll rent that house we talked about. We'll paint the kitchen yellow. We'll build our life. It might not be the life we imagined before the war. It might be harder. You might have difficult days. Days when the memories are too much. Days when you need space. Days when you need to talk or cry or just sit in silence. That's okay. We'll figure it out together. Because that's what love is. Not just sharing the good times, but walking through the darkness together, holding each other up when one of us stumbles. I'm not afraid of your damage. I'm not afraid of your scars. I'm not afraid of who you've become. I'm only afraid of losing you, of you not coming home, of a telegram saying you're gone. So please, my darling, please be careful. Please come home to me. Come home and let me love you. All of you. The parts you think are broken and the parts that are whole. Come home and let me prove that love is stronger than trauma, that hope can survive horror, that we can build something beautiful even from ashes. I'm waiting for you, Jimmy. I'll always be waiting for you. Come home safe. All my love, forever and always. Dorothy, historical. Note: Private First Class James Jimmy Kellerman survived World War II. He returned to active duty with the 78th Infantry Division in late January 1945. He participated in the Allied advance into Germany, serving until VE Day, May 8, 1945. He was awarded the Bronze Star for valor during the Battle of the Bulge. He received the Purple Heart for wounds sustained in action. He was honorably discharged in July 1945 with the rank of sergeant. He returned to Altoona, Pennsylvania, and married Dorothy Sullivan on June 15, 1945. The ceremony was small, just family, at St. John's Catholic Church. They rented a small house on Maple Street. Dorothy taught him to dance properly, not just the clumsy shuffling he'd done before the war. He taught her to appreciate baseball, and they attended Altoona Curve games together every summer. James returned to work for the Pennsylvania Railroad, starting again as a clerk. He worked his way up to assistant yard supervisor, a position he held for 28 years. He was known as fair, meticulous, and kind to the younger workers. Dorothy continued working at the textile mill for 2 more years, then became a homemaker when their first child was born. They had 3 children: Margaret, born 1947, Frank, born 1949, Helen, born 1952. 7 grandchildren followed, 12 great-grandchildren. James rarely spoke about his experiences in the Ardennes. When asked, he would say only, "Good men died. I was lucky to survive." He attended 106th Division reunions sporadically in the early years, then stopped going. "Too many ghosts," Dorothy said he told her. He had nightmares for years. Dorothy would wake to find him sitting up in bed, sweating, shaking. She would hold him without asking questions until he could breathe again. He couldn't tolerate fireworks. The 4th of July was always spent inside with the windows closed, curtains drawn. He walked with a limp his entire life. His left foot ached before snowstorms. He joked that he was a better weather predictor than the radio. He kept this diary his entire life, along with the notebook containing the names of his fallen comrades from Battery B, 589th Field Artillery Battalion. He kept them in a locked box in his closet. Dorothy knew they were there, but never read them without his permission. On their 50th wedding anniversary, June 15, 1995, he showed her the diary. Let her read it. She cried. He cried with her. "I wanted you to know," he said. "All these years, I wanted you to know what it was really like. But I couldn't tell you. I could only write it down." She held him, told him she loved him, told him she'd always loved him, damaged parts and all. "You're not damaged," she said. "You're a survivor. There's a difference." James Kellerman passed away on November 3, 2003. He was 81 years old. Dorothy was at his side. His children and grandchildren surrounded his bed. His last words were, "Tell them I did my duty. Tell them I remembered." Dorothy lived another 8 years. She passed away on March 22, 2011, age 86. They're buried together in Calvary Cemetery, Altoona, Pennsylvania. The headstone reads, James Jimmy Kellerman, 1922, 2003 Sergeant, U.S. Army, WW2, 106th Infantry Division, Golden Lions. Beloved husband, father, grandfather. He did his duty. He remembered. The 106th Infantry Division suffered approximately 9,000 casualties during the Battle of the Bulge, most of them in the first 3 days of the offensive. 2 entire regiments, the 422nd and 423rd Infantry, surrendered on December 19, 1944. This remains the largest American mass surrender in the European theater. Despite this catastrophe, the division's sacrifice bought crucial time for the Allied forces to regroup and mount an effective defense. The delay imposed on the German advance by the 106th Division's resistance, even in defeat, contributed significantly to the ultimate failure of Hitler's offensive. The division was reconstituted with replacement personnel and continued to serve with distinction for the remainder of the war. It received the Presidential Unit Citation for its actions during the Battle of the Bulge. The men of the 106th Division fought with courage and determination against overwhelming odds. They deserve to be remembered not for the surrender, but for the stand they made, for the friends they lost, for the duty they fulfilled. This diary is dedicated to their memory. To the Golden Lions who fell in the Ardennes, you are not forgotten. End.